Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Careers Podcast. On today's episode, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Adam West. Adam is a very talented creative located just south of Birmingham in Shelby County. Adam has a really great sort of collection of experiences. He started a lot of his work in the church and still works in a church local to Shelby County, as well as he worked full-time just up until recently with ServePro doing their video production for their in-house and external communication. He also produced and still produces their video podcast that the owners of the local ServePro started. Adam is very talented and just a really great person. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think you will as well. Check it out. All right, Adam West. I feel like we should have like the Batman soundtrack, the old, TV show at that point playing in the background. But Adam, thank you so much for being on Creating Careers Podcast with me today, man. I'm really looking forward to it. We've connected in the past. I think we got coffee a while back, and I've followed your work. I'm genuinely, and I mean this. I say this all the time, but I hope people understand that it's real, and I hope you understand it's real. I genuinely am a fan of the work you do. I love the podcast that you run at work. I love sort of the content I've seen from you that you do with ServePro. I also love the stuff that I see from you with your church. And then I know you've got your own sort of freelance stuff you do as well, but genuinely a fan. And again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, man. It means a lot. You always, you always stress. I'm the worst for imposter syndrome. I talk with my wife about it a lot, that it's probably a struggle of mine. So it's like, especially in this social media driven world, it used to be, your creative circle was the only people you did things with. Now you can see what everybody else, and you're like, man, I wish I did that, or I wish I had that. So, or I wish I could edit like this. So I appreciate it, man. That means a lot. It's one of the things that I try to do, just to create things that people enjoy. I always try to tell our team, especially we've got a lot of young students at the church that want to learn this type of thing. And I always try to remind them they're growing up in a social media world where it's all about how many likes and follows and comments you can get. And I say, guys, the work we do, yes, you want people to tag you and share and, collaborate. Just remember, all the work you're creating is not for any recognition. It's to really either, for us, is to push the message of the church, the heart of the church, or if you're a client, you're trying to create something for them to help them be better, whether that's sell a product, sell a culture, sell a brand. So it means a lot when you hear it, because I think sometimes the work that we do, and all the creators and people you've had on your podcast, a lot of times the work you do is kind of, people don't ever hear it or see, they just see the work. So I appreciate that, man. Your stuff's phenomenal. I was telling my wife, she was like, what podcast are you doing? I was like, I'm being with Brian. I said, look, he used to do all this stuff for the school system. She was like, all the videos that we saw, I was like, yeah, that was Brian. I was like, those are phenomenal. I'm like, they look so good. They're clean. I was like, and that's how I am. I love clean, professional looking projects, dude. So your stuff is always been phenomenal. I think that's how we got connected. I just started following, and then somehow saw you had done it. So I just started following you on social media, and we got to connect that way. So it's just cool in a way. So.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day, I was talking about just how great it is to be able to go back and see people's, like, some of their very first projects, people that really leave that stuff out there. And I'm one of those that have left a lot of stuff out there. Not always wisely, but I've left a lot of stuff out there. And I was talking about, if you look back at the very beginning of Shelby County Schools YouTube channel, which we started, I mean, that wasn't, actually, there's an old channel they used to have that was like the Webmasters channel. And I think there's a few videos on there that I first created for Shelby County Schools. But then later we started the channel that now we use, or they use at this point. And if you go back to some of those first videos, man, the lighting was terrible. I mean, I was trying to do 3-point lighting with a cloth backdrop. and I was hitting the backdrop with this light, and I had these little tiny aperture lights that
Yep.
I would set up in the background. I'd hit them with a rim light, and then I'd hit the background with a light, and then I was not doing very well. And I look back at those videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the colors are all off, the lighting is all off. It's so dramatic. So I appreciate you saying that, and I also appreciate the growth that I think I've been able to make,
Yeah.
as well as I think all of us can. And you mentioned imposter syndrome, man. I've talked with people that you and I both admire and look up to,
Yeah.
and people that we're marveling at, like, how did they do that? And man, I wish I could do that kind of stuff. And every single one of them, man, imposter syndrome. Every
Yeah.
single one of them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go away. And it also doesn't mean that you're not worthy to get the attention that you're getting, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I say that not just saying it to you to try to lecture you. I'm telling myself that, you know, like,
Yeah.
we all need to be proud of the journey we've been on. We need to be proud of the work we do. We need to be, excited about the growth that's still to come, because when you stop growing, you stop learning, that's when you're really an imposter at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that's the biggest thing is just, man, how often are you growing? How often are you looking? My wife gives me a hard time. She's like, you're always on social media. And I'm like, but I'm trying to learn. Like, I'm just trying to find things. I mean, I have like, I use my Instagram and I use my saved, and I have folders for things, you know, like if I see an editing trick and I'm like, I really want to try that, I'll save it in a folder that I have specifically set as Adobe and DaVinci edits.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if I have a whole folder for church ideas, right? Like, so like things that we could do on our church social media, great things that I see other churches do. How can we replicate? Not, I don't want to copy it, but how do I replicate that fits for our community? And so I do all that type of stuff, but it's just constant. How much can I consume? And sometimes it's overwhelming, because I feel like you end up
Right.
consuming so much stuff. And I think that's where the imposter syndrome and the stress comes from, because I'm just so, I feel like I consume so much, that a lot of times I need to be better about outputting, not inputting, right? Like I
Yeah.
need to quit consuming so much to say, oh, I should try this, I should try that, and just do it. Like, try
Right.
something and do these things. So that, I think that's a lot of where that comes from. But it's tough. It's just seeing our circles are so much larger than they used to be. So much larger. I mean, like you said, it was so easy. If I hadn't seen you on social media, or some of the other people that you mentioned that we admire, without social media, I never would have known they exist, or that we have these type of people in the community that have these skill sets and that are good at them, and to be able to see their work. So it's neat to be able to connect and do those things.
Yeah. Well, I do need to say this, because this is something I figured it would happen at some point, and I knew it would happen with you, especially because I had seen your setup before. But so far, up to this point, before we started this podcast, I was pretty confident that, not that my setup is just amazing by any means, but I always could slightly outshine the guests. I always said, like, I don't have the story, I don't have the incredible portfolio that so many of these other people have, but I at least have a decent setup for the podcast. And a lot of these people would be using their own built-in camera. And I was telling Colin Odell, which we were just talking about before we started recording, I told Colin, I was like, Adam's going to beat me, man. Adam's setup is beautiful. Like, his camera looks great. He's got the white mic with the arm, you know. I mean, he's got all the green in the background that pops. Props to you on your setup, man. I think it looks beautiful, and you do overshadow me. Are you having issues with your oh, that's your computer screen. Okay, I was like, looks like a light just went out.
Dude, I'm about to fix it too. You say that and it just shut off. You know what's funny is I've got to set it so it doesn't shut off. I forgot that I don't know why I did that. I have it
That's
set where
funny.
it shuts off. It's funny that you were just saying all that.
And then
You're like,
everything goes black, like your whole setup
yes,
goes out.
I don't have to worry about that. That's funny.
Yeah,
So,
but no, seriously, you do such a great job with this. And I know you use this. We'll get into some of your work later,
mhm.
but I know you use this for your work podcast setup, which I do have to also acknowledge, like your setup in that outshines both of the guys that are sort of like the main talking pieces. Like they're the main show. You're sort of running it behind the scenes, but then you pop in sometimes and
Yeah.
either pose questions or ideas or even contribute yourself. And it's always impressive because it's like they look more like they're not on their phones or on their
Yeah.
computer built-in cameras, but it looks more like that, especially compared to whenever you step in. So
One of them is. So
okay,
one of them is on a, I did his setup. He actually does it. He has a studio in his basement, but I did set one of them. He's just running like an A7 IV, real easy.
yeah,
The other one is not creative, and he will tell you that that's not he is a ops guy, right?
right.
That's what they it's why they work so well. They're yin and yang. That's why their business has been so successful. One's a dreamer, one's an ops guy. They always say one's a realist, one's a dreamer,
Yeah.
and the realist, Brady, he does this from his computer, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, you have one of the largest ServePros in the nation. Can we just go and get you a camera?
I'll
So
set it up for you. Just
I
let me
told
do
him
it.
we're working on it. They just built a
Okay.
studio at the office. We're actually I'm hoping we're actually going to do some more in person, like actually sit around a
Yeah.
table and do those. But man, no, I appreciate it. I do. I love. I told you before we started. I love yours. If you look at my content, I'm a high contrast, dark,
Yeah.
um, content person. I know not dark as in the topic, but just
Maybe a little bit of that too.
a little bit, but I'm a Sony shooter. They're a little bit darker. That's why I chose Sony over Canon, was specifically for that choice. I like the rich, like the dark contrast look to things. As you're saying that, I've actually been looking at our shot and I'm like, it is way too bright in here, and it is driving me nuts. So I used to have dark
Yeah.
walls, and then when we repainted the office, my wife was like, let's go a little brighter. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a little dark in there.
I love it,
Um,
man. I love it.
so
I mean, I'm like we even said before, I'm a fan of green and that green in the background just
yeah,
pops, man. I think it
I
looks so
appreciate it.
great.
We're still
Yeah.
working on it. I told her, I was like, I got to get some stuff on the. What's funny is I have flipped my desk when Colin and I were messaging on Instagram. I was like, I have changed my office probably 6 times, and I
Yeah.
think I've finally settled into what I like. The problem is I have nothing on the walls over there, but I have everything on the walls in front of me because it used to be the opposite. I just
Yeah.
haven't taken the time to
Yeah.
shift it.
I did the
So,
same thing. So right in front of me on the other side of this light is like it's a panel wall. Like I put up these panels,
mhm,
and I used to have three big like movie poster type things, and everything was flipped. And so I was
mhm.
looking at the shelving unit, and this stuff was behind me. I think my very first episode or two, I think you can see that. But then I flipped it around,
Yeah,
tried different things, and I enjoy the contrast as well.
yeah.
But no, I think
That's
your
what
shot looks great. What is it that you're
appreciate.
shooting on? Tell me also, why did you choose the white mic? I mean, I've got the same mic, but I got
Mhm.
it with black. So talk through a little bit of your equipment that you've got, and then tell me a little bit of your rationale.
Yeah, so I'm running an FX3. I've got a 16 to 35 on it. It's my baby.
That's
Um,
bougie. That's bougie, people. No, I'm just kidding. That's
yes,
awesome. I
it
love it.
is.
I've got the
It is.
FX3. It's in my bag. I have the A7C that I run off of. I mean, in part because it's one that I can just leave there because
Yep.
I use two other cameras. So
I'm trying to convince my wife that I need a camera that just sits there.
yeah,
But if I did it, I would probably do the ZVE10 so that way it's got the same sensor, which is bougie. So,
right. Yeah,
and
yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
"So you're gonna spend that money on a camera to sit on your desk?" And I'm like, "Mm-hmm." So, so
Of
I joke,
course I am.
I jokingly say she's our CFO of our LLC that we have. So I'm like, I'm gonna send you a request, and we're gonna see if this is in the budget. So
You're gonna do a
um,
PO to your wife.
I know that's basically. I was like, "Can I? Is this approved? Can I do this?"
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, so I run that. I use it for all my big projects. So in my bag, I carry two A7 fours,
yeah.
and then I also carry my FX3 as my main. working on, I'm at this point where I want to get something else to have. Like, do I want an FX6? Do I want an FX3?
Yeah.
Or another, something like that. But I love this. I've got like the Elgato teleprompter. It's been my favorite for anything. If I'm from home and I'm doing a Zoom meeting or I'm doing anything, I love it because I feel engaged and I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not like over here while the camera's over here.
Right.
So it's just been kind of nice. And then I don't know what the white or why. I think that I saw someone use it and I was like, man, that looks so clean.
It does. It does.
And so I think that was the thing. What's funny is I use a mono for my, it's a brand called Mono. I just found it on Amazon for my little hub, my audio interface, and it's also white. I'm pretty lame. All of my stuff is white. So I just tried to keep a aesthetic. I'm an aesthetics guy. I am one of these people that if I'm not in a place where I feel just comfortable to create, I know this sounds extremely bougie and lame, but I feel like I need to set the atmosphere. It was funny when I started the job at the church, none of them have any of this kind of stuff in their office. And they walked in and they're like, what is all this? And I'm like, I've got to set the mood to be able to create. So
I agree completely. I feel like you really want to have a space that inspires you, you know, a space that like you're feeling this like level of beauty and creativity around you, and I feel like it pushes you to do better even in your own mind, because you're not feeling like right now my office is a disaster, so everything's out just a little bit out of frame.
I was cleaning up. There's stuff hidden that you can't.
Yeah.
Like,
just under the desk. My feet are on stuff right now. Like it's bad in my office right now. I mean, I've got 2 boxes right here just off frame of air tags because I'm getting ready for a trip that I'm like, I got to put these in my bag.
Yep.
But like, not even, I mean, there's plenty of other stuff right here too. It's not conducive. Like you feel like you need to clean up before you can work.
Yeah.
And so when you've got it where everything's got its place, there's like this beauty and aesthetic to it. I totally agree with you. It just feels good. And the road, man, it looks clean. I love the arm being white like that. I love the wrap because I know now they've got that sort of cloth wrap that goes on the arm that it doesn't look it doesn't look like this right here, you know.
Yeah,
anymore.
this is new. What's funny is I took off the pop filter because it's black. So even though it's a white edition, it's a black pop filter, and I'm like, well, that just kills the whole reason to have it. So
right.
So I took
have
that.
have you looked at what's the guy's name? Tom Buck. You follow him on YouTube? You should check him out. His YouTube stuff is incredible. Tom Buck, Buck.
Okay.
And he does a lot. He used to be a high school teacher that taught broadcast and like TV production. And man, he's got some company he always goes through to buy colored, like he's a big blue, pink, purple kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he'll get different accessories for road products and even Shure SM7Bs where he'll change up the exterior of them, or even the housing in general. You can order like little covers or replacement pieces. So I don't know if Rode doesn't have a pop filter.
It'd be nice
yet,
because I feel like I need to have a pop filter, and sometimes I feel like, especially when I'm doing any type of a podcast, it feels naked when I'm doing this.
Let me show you this, man, because this has been my new addition. Okay, so I recently bought the Sony A7C Mark II. Okay,
that's on my list.
I was wrestling, man. I really wanted.
You're about to sell me on something. My wife's gonna kill me. Because when you pulled that out, I was like, I've been wrestling between that and the ZV-E10. What's funny is our pastor's daughter is a photographer. She just bought her first camera, and she didn't need like the A7 IV. She didn't need anything like that.
Right.
She's smaller. She just felt like it was large to hold all the time. She bought that one. And when she brought it in, I was like, I like this. And then you just pull it out. I'm going to text my wife and be like, Brian told me to buy it.
Yeah.
So he's going to
Amazon
be approved.
cart added. So, but no, I bought this because, and I was wrestling. I wanted, I at work, when I worked with Shelby County Schools, I had an FX3 and an A7 IV. They're a great pairing. You know, I needed photo capability at times, but whenever it was my main camera video wise, the FX3 was always there and the A7 IV acted as a secondary angle. So I wanted something similar. I already had the FX3. My wife bought that for me for my 40th birthday. So props to her. That was great. I about
You're going to have
cried
to make
that
that
day.
one up. That's a big
Yeah,
gift.
yeah. So I decided, I was like, I love the A7C, the first generation, which I have right here. I use it for our vacation trips all the time just because it's small, nimble. I usually shoot with prime, so I've got like the 20, the 35, the 85. So it's all compact. So I was like, let me see about this. Man, this has been such a great purchase. I
So
love that.
you're using the first edition right now. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting on right now.
and it's so crisp that I actually honestly thought you were potentially using like an FX3 or something as well, because
No.
it's very crisp for being the first, first edition.
That's such a great camera, man. I mean, when I shoot with it, I don't shoot S-Log. I have occasionally used S-Log too, but I just use sort of like a slightly duller picture profile, or not even picture profile. It's actually that like creative look where you can sort of bring back the contrast. You can bring back the saturation. So I just dial that stuff back, and it's been a great camera. And then I just add a little punch in post. But with this, it's just going straight into my ATEM Mini Pro, and you know, these kind of softwares add some extra contrast to them anyway.
Yeah.
So, but this cameraman, for compared to the A7 IV, the only thing that I've noticed is it's got better autofocus because it's got that new AI autofocus.
It's got the new AI in it.
Yeah, it's great. And then I actually like the smaller compact size. And then I bought this lens. It's the Tamron 35 to 150, and it goes f2 to f2.8.
So it stays so you don't even have to take anything off. I mean, that covers almost everything you need.
Think about church, right? You think about the church event, and school is similar to church. You know, you got like the small classroom stuff. Sometimes you have assemblies. So like working in school systems, which I still, in my freelance work now, that's what I do with my business.
Yeah.
So this lens and this camera body, I can go in, man. I flip back and forth between photo and video so quickly. I go from wide shot at 35 to a tight shot at 150. You know,
does it have the crop feature
between
as well, like the A4, so you can get that extra punch if you need?
For video, you can if you jump up to 60 frames per second, you know, automatically crops, or you can just crop in with 24 at 4K. Yeah.
See, I leave my A4. So when I run my A4 on Sundays, I have both mine set up where the AEL button on the top right is set up for crop.
Yeah.
So if I need to pop in, I can. Whether I'm taking, like you said, when you do video, I record almost everything on Sunday at 60 frames. Everything we do, unless it's a talking head, something like that.
Right.
But almost everything I do is 60 frames, just so that way, if I need to slow it, I can. If not, the naked eye, most people can't tell. Now I can typically, it feels like it has a little bit of a speed to it, but I do it all that way, and so it automatically is cropped in. So I do most of my work with the A4 on Sundays, just because I'm a hybrid shooter. If I don't, we're building that team now. If I have somebody shooting with me that's competent, that knows what they're doing, I'll typically not shoot any photos because I know I'll get what I need, and I run the FX3. So, we did.
Are you using the Sony 70 to 200? Is that what the G Master?
Yeah. So luckily the church we're at, they're comfortable with photos. They're actually, we came from a church where it was a little more of a struggle. They weren't used to it as much, and so they kind of, it felt like a distraction to them. To the church we moved to now, they wanted it. Like, they were looking for it. They embrace it. The church is so good about everything we've done. to share, to like. I'm still trying to figure out what they do and don't like.
Right.
So we're going through that. I've found that their favorite thing is just seeing the heart of our church. If I make a video that just shows B-roll of a Sunday and say, "Hey, we can't wait to see you Sunday," that will outperform something that I spent hours doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, so I run that because they're comfortable with it. But I also like to snipe on Sundays. I try to catch people just living, just doing community together. So I run that 70 to 200. Um, Pretty much most of the time I keep that on my hip. I use what's called a spider holster on
Yeah.
Sunday. It's a brand. I
Yeah.
love it. I feel like it's better than having the straps, just so I'm not running around and swaying. I clip them in my belt. I actually will clip my FX3 in my belt and pull that sucker out to film and then put it back in there.
It
So
does it have an external monitor on it too? So then you're like really like running with a rig on your hip.
I will not deny that I have tried it, and it makes me very nervous. I'm like, there is 1 3/4 screw
Right.
holding that rig in. Now I won't do it with a 70 to 200 on. I'll do it with like a 2470 or a 1635. But yeah, so we run a lot of that 70 to 200. That typically is always. I don't go anywhere without it. It's actually I love the 1635, but I'll tell you, man, that 70 to 200. I love that lens. I really do.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, this 35 to 150 has become my favorite mainly because 35 is where I
Mm-hmm.
typically stay anyway. I mean, 35 prime is like my favorite. It's 90% of the time that's on my FX3. Because if I need a tighter shot, I move in. You know,
Yeah.
what I mean, and it's just such a great focal length in general.
This whole
And that's
podcast is going to be expensive. I just like I'm gonna walk away from this and be like, so we've added some things to our Best Buy cart. So
I haven't even gotten into the first slide yet. So I apologize
you're
to
good,
whoever's
man.
watching this. They're like, when are they gonna I want to know who this they've alluded to this guy working in multiple places. Who is this guy?
Look, I will tell you this before we bore him anymore, but I appreciate it. I think when Colin and I were kind of talking through Instagram, we were talking about podcasts and you as well. I was like, man, I just wanted, I love doing the podcast with my ServePro owners. I enjoy it. I love it. It's more about them. It's their business owners. It's a huge company. They're one of the top 10 in the nation. So it's all about leadership and how they've built the company, really helping other ServePro leaders and just leaders, business leaders in general. So for me to be able to sit and talk chalk about things that I enjoy, I'm just going to talk in circles because it's just nice to do that.
Yeah, well, I love it too. As you can tell, I think you and I both can be a little bit of gearheads, and
Hmm.
when you get two gearheads in a conversation about gear, it just keeps going and going and going. So, but that is why I bring on the slides. So, speaking of the slides, let's go ahead and get a little bit into your story, man.
Yeah.
Who is Adam West? Tell me, like, where did you grow up? What was your like interest when you were young? What did you think you were going to be whenever you got older? Sort of take us on some of those early years in your
Yeah.
life, those journeys.
Man, so my dad, we've lived everywhere. My dad was an Air Force chaplain. He did, I believe it was 38 years, 40 years in the military. He was a Southern Baptist pastor. That's how he got into the military. So, I mean, you name it, I've lived there. I've lived in DC. I've lived in Omaha, Nebraska. I spent all my high school years in Okinawa, Japan. So that's kind of where I did. I've lived in Florida. Obviously, both my parents are from Alabama. My dad went to seminary in New Orleans, of all places. Um, I mean, you name it, we've probably lived there. So did a lot of that in high school. I was an AV nerd. I was also, I was kind of an athlete as well. So I kind of just hung out with everybody. But old school, I got into video, and you probably remember this, videoing on a VHS where you record on one, you put it in the recorder, then you take your other VHS, you put it in the recorder, and then you're editing to the VHS that you're trying to do. So I remember a lot of that and did that. And my plan was to go to University of Alabama when I finished school, got accepted to the mass communications program. I wanted to go into sports media, just a videographer, whether that's broadcast, whatever that is. I wanted to go into that. We moved back to the States. I had not been in the States in about 3 or 4 years, and it was just overwhelming. I came home. I've never driven on the opposite side. My parents were, I grew up with the steering wheel on the opposite side of the car because in
Yeah.
Japan, everything's flipped. And so had never driven off a military base, had never seen an interstate in my life. I'm 18 years old, had never experienced any of that. My dad got stationed in Omaha, Nebraska. And so I spent the summer with them. And I remember telling my parents, I was like, I don't think I'm ready to go. Haven't been in the States in years, and I don't think I'm ready to experience any of this kind of stuff. So I stayed, went to a community college, just got my AA degree, and then transitioned to Huntington College in Montgomery. So I got back here. My parents went to my dad got stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base. So played football there, and while I was there, started working for the Y and got completely out of media. 100%. Didn't do anything with cameras, nothing. I changed my major from that to recreational management of all things. Loved working at the Y. That's where I started my career. Did about 10, 11 years there as an aquatics director. And so I got a job at the Y here in Birmingham out of college, did it. And then somehow my wife and I, right before we got married, knew we wanted to be involved in the church. We both have grown up in it. We started attending a place in Alabaster called Cultivate Church. She went to school with the pastors. They're both Brandons, but they're Brandon Dawson, Brandon Matthews. She went to school with them. So that's why we tried it. Somehow I wanted to do students. I love students. Got into doing the ministry. Somehow I tell Pastor Brandon Matthews, conned my wife and I into leading Cultivate Students, which is now, it's a huge ministry they have. Kind of conned us into that. And that's how I got back into video. When my wife and I started doing student ministry, it was during a time that social media was growing. It was only Vine, kind of at the time. How
Right.
much can you make in 6 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Vine, and then Instagram was still just photos. And so we got into that. Honestly, what started the whole thing was just filming announcements. Just got into it. And I credit a lot of what I do to Pastor Brandon Matthews. He took a lot of time when they were planning a church, which is, for anybody that's ever done it, it's not an easy thing. It is he was working for Apple, leading the church, but he would take Saturdays while still doing everything else. And we would come over to the house and hang out. And he trained me how to edit videos. He taught me, you got to change on the beat and you got to do just all these like things that you would see. So he got me into it. Started enjoying it, started doing it a lot more. It actually is what got me a job at ServePro. So I left the Y and went to work at Dick's Sporting Goods for a year and a half as a freight flow lead. I handled all of the inventory and was just doing stuff with them, video, and then knew we needed to make a change. We had a daughter and we wanted to have another one. We knew we got to make some more. We got to be able to support the family. And so I applied at ServePro to be a marketing rep, which is not me. I'm not a marketing rep guy. I am a marketer, not a marketing rep guy. Walked in, had an interview with the business development manager at the time. They typically do 2 interviews. After that, it was with the owner, Benji Wilson, who is one of my best friends now. Sat down for my second interview with him, and he said he'll tell you today, he doesn't know why he did this. He felt like God led him to have this conversation. But he was like, Adam, what do you enjoy doing? Like, why are you interviewing here? And he's like, it's not typically a question you ask somebody who's interviewing.
Right.
And I was like, well, I love making videos. I was like, I do it for our church. It's one of my favorite things. I love working on social media. And he was like, really? And at the time, I had no understanding of this. They were looking to grow. They were training 50 other serve pros in the region. And they knew that, at that time, I think it was 2017, 2018. Video was really starting to pick up with Vine, and
Right.
Instagram, and Facebook. And he knew we need to plan for down the road. We need to be able to make our own training videos. We don't want to lean on corporate because they can't focus on us. We're a franchise system. And so I got hired as a marketing support coordinator, and man, the rest is just history from there. I got to work on making videos for ServePro. Um, they were very supportive in allowing me to use the ServePro equipment to grow myself. There were some times that they allowed me to use it, and I say, hey, I'll rent it from you. And Benji's like, no, you go do it. He said, he said, look, you do it. He said, now if you break it, you got to pay for it. But he was like, look, the more that you do outside of here, the better you do for us. And he was like, I want you to learn from that. And him and his brother both were very supportive in that. And I used it to do it. And about 2 years ago, my wife said, hey, you need to stop making videos for people for free. Like, it's time. So we created an LLC. I called it Adam West Media. I look at myself as a very broad production company. I can do graphic design. I can do website management. I can make videos, whatever that is. So we decided let's do this thing. Let's put it out there. One of my best friends, he owns a company called S&S Appliance. He was the first person to hire me as a retainer to handle their website and Google. That's all he needed. No videos, nothing like that. He said, because I do digital marketing at ServePro, I did a lot of that in Google. So I have a background in all those things. And he said, look, we need ours cleaned up. We're a service industry. We get a lot of negative reviews just because we're at the mercy of Whirlpool. We're at the mercy of needing things. He said, I said, look, I can do it for less than half of what you're paying somebody else right now. And I said, I'll just to get my foot in the door. And because of him, it allowed me to have retainer, or what I call mailbox money, every month coming in. I do everything to maintain this stuff. And I just, saved and did that. So it allowed me to really put money toward the business. And then the opportunity for the church came, and I just felt like God was calling me to leave. ServePro had just gotten to a point where we weren't doing as much marketing like video for social media. In that industry, it's tough. People don't look at your Instagram or Facebook. When you have a water damage, they need to find you on Google, right?
Right.
I need them to pop up before that. So I knew where my heart was at, and I was in an office. I was director of, and I have gone all the way from marketing support to director. They had 3 franchises: Dallas, Houston, Birmingham. There's no reason why I should ever leave. I had a company car, great paying job. It was set. And I was going to sit at a desk a lot because I was over director of digital marketing, branding, and quality assurance. So I was just taking hits left and right. There's a difference between my cell phone doesn't work, can I get a new one, to with customer complaints to I have a hole in my roof and your team messed up.
Yeah.
And so it was wearing on me, and we just felt like God was calling us. What's funny is because of ServePro, I met a girl that worked in our office. She was attending Christian Life Church. I did it again, Brian. Dude, I'm sorry. I was trying not to. Hopefully you can edit this. I'm so sorry, dude.
I'm going to leave it in, man. I think everybody needs to see this.
Dude. Well, it's fun. I'm about to just do this while it's already messed up. What's funny is when it happened the first time, I didn't want to sit here and be typing and dig through how to turn off my screensaver. Never. We're fixed, people.
There you go.
It says the screensaver will not be inactive ever, so I apologize.
I love it, man. It's the rawness. That's what's great about podcasts in general.
Dude. Some clients going to be watching and be like, yeah, we don't need to hire this guy.
Let me interrupt you just a minute before we wrap up on this part, because it sounds like this is leading into you working full-time at a church. And then obviously we know you at some point go back to ServePro, but I just want to so many creative people got their start in churches. You know what I mean? Not necessarily did I start being a creative then. I didn't actually start being a creative, doing any kind of creative work until I was probably, I was in my 30s whenever I started. And,
I wish I had started earlier, man. It's tough. Our pastor's daughter, I told her the other day, I was like, "Girl, you're only 15, and or I think she's 16." And I'm like, "You have so much hustle. Use that now."
Yeah,
I said,
yeah,
"Use it now." I said, "Girl, I look back at the times before I met my wife, when I was working and living with my buddies that didn't have to pay a lot.
right,
Man, I spent it on video games. I spent it on going out. I was like, I should have been spending that money on mountain bikes, been out just exercising, been out in nature. I should have found a hobby. I should have done something." I said, "Do it now." Because I said, I feel like I'm getting a later start in life. And I mean, obviously everything happens for a reason. Man,
right.
I wish, and I do the same thing with our daughter. Like, she wants to do photos too. And I'm going to lean into it as much as possible, because I just wish I wish I would have started earlier in life
Yeah.
I already I was doing it in high school, but man, I should have leaned into it.
Well, for me, it was so I had a youth pastor. He had come to us. He was I lived in Hueytown at the time, and so it was North Highlands Baptist Church. This we had this relatively young youth pastor come, and he had come out of Hunter Street, and even before then, he
That's the first church I went to when I moved to Birmingham, actually.
was Hunter Street. They're a
I lived
great
right
church.
down the street from there. It was my first apartment in
And
Birmingham.
their youth team, he was like an assistant youth director. So he worked under the youth pastor. And one of the big things he did there was graphic design for them, because he had gone to Auburn for graphic design. Well, then whenever he came to us and started working with the youth, like he would do these t-shirt designs and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, these are incredible." And he was going into Illustrator and creating them himself. And then he would do videos too. Like he would do these crazy games called Pickle Night. His name is Greg Key, and Greg is still now he's like a graphic designer for the School of Engineering at Auburn now. But and he worked at a church in Auburn up until I think this past year. But such a great guy, but so creative and talented. And here I was, sort of like this older youth at the time. Started really connecting with him, learning from him. I was actually in the process of like going into ministry at the time. And so he would let me speak and he would study with me and stuff, and just a really great guy. Well, I remember, like, fast forward 10 to 15 years, and I'm working at a school. I'm teaching history, and a new principal comes in and she wants to add more career tech programs. And she's like, "Would you be interested?" Because I had taken a test that said I could teach marketing and business. And she's like, "Would you be interested in teaching a marketing class?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And she was like, "You can offer credentials in Microsoft or Adobe." I was like, "Well, Microsoft is boring. I didn't care anything about that."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Adobe, Greg Key, like that's what he did. He did Photoshop, he did Illustrator. Like I want to learn that stuff." I didn't know how to do it. And she was like, "That sounds great. You can offer credentials in that to your students so you can teach them that stuff." Went to YouTube, learned so I could teach.
YouTube.
Went back to YouTube to learn to teach the next day, and just more and more just fell in love with it, man. But I tie it all back to Greg Key being that uber sort of cool, creative mentor in my life that I looked up to majorly. And whenever I got the chance to step into a new space, I connected it to him, and I thought, of course I want to do that, you know? And he would do these things, man. He'd do this stuff called Pickle Night, where it was all these games involving pickles. And then he would do a video to promote it, some stupid video where he's like running and jumping and flipping all to get to a pickle. You know, it was like, it was such a weird time. Greg, if you're watching this one, props, but you're a weird guy, man.
But look, these days, any publicity is good publicity.
Exactly.
So if you're making something ridiculous, it's getting people to the table.
Yeah, but I just love the origin in churches. I feel like churches are always pushing the bounds, especially youth ministries, it seemed like, pushing into new areas, trying to be creative, trying to be attention getting. And then it led to so many people just like me and you that now do creative jobs outside of church and in churches at times. because of those, especially the early or mid to late 90s and early 2000s youth
Yeah.
pastors. I just feel like, man, they were cutting edge on that stuff at the time.
I mean, that's what started me, was just realizing we needed to do social media. I mean, that's what it's what they're on. I mean, that's where they're at.
Right.
I think somebody, I heard it the other day. I think we were talking about it in staff meeting. There's a statistic now where I forgot what age group it is, but they're going to grow up never knowing what it's like not to have technology, like a
Yeah.
phone, something. Like, we're moving into that, which is crazy, because we talk a lot at the church from a marketing standpoint that we're in I'm trying to coin the phrase, maybe it'll catch on, but I call it generational social media. That's what I feel like we're at. Think about, like, my mom and dad are they're probably in their 60s. No,
Right.
I think they're both they're right on the back end of 60. My mom only uses Facebook. She's pretty good she doesn't do all, like, where you see her post all the different quizzes she takes. She's very good at not doing
Right.
any of that kind of stuff. Like,
She's got some, she's
which
got
friend's
some
character are you?
self-control.
Yes. So, my dad, just because he's written a book about his experience in the military, I think he dabbles in Instagram and then
Right.
does Facebook. So that's their extent. My wife and I'm a huge Instagram, love Instagram. It's my favorite. I
Yeah.
use Facebook as more of just to kind of put things out there. I don't pay attention to it a lot. I don't get on it a lot. I'm not, I mean, I do just for church and and for myself. And then I use TikTok. I do like TikTok. I like to use it as a search engine. I know people but man, I kid you not, downstairs we had a water line break in our closet. Thank goodness for ServePro. Came out, they did their thing. So before we had a chance to get the drywall up, the line split again. Like, we had cut it to kind of shorten it up. We had a buddy of ours, a plumber, came fix it. I told my wife, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not calling him again. That's unfair. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I jumped on TikTok. I typed what was going on. I found the video, went to Lowe's, picked up what it told me to get, came home and fixed the water line myself. So, I mean,
Okay.
I'll tell you, from a digital marketing standpoint, it is a very powerful search engine. I mean, if you need something, you can find it. Like, if
See, I
you're,
look at YouTube like that. YouTube has been that for me. I mean, car stuff,
yeah,
go to YouTube. Like, I can't.
yeah,
There was one time I couldn't figure out how to get to this belt on our Nissan van. I was like, I can't reach it from here. So I looked up how to access the belt on that van. You turn the wheel out, and then there's a little flap. You fold the flap back and go right through the tire well.
yeah. I just think I see TikTok as more of a short form. Like, hey, if I need something
Right.
quick, I need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I know YouTube does shorts and it's a big part of the algorithm. I just see it as more long form page, and so
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
reason why I use it. But my wife doesn't really use it. She has one. I don't think she ever opens it. But
Yeah.
that's where we are. But then you look at the students, and I would even say maybe like college age, they're using TikTok religiously. They may have Instagram, and they're using Snapchat still. I don't think that's ever gone away. It's a huge thing.
Right.
That's the main thing. But if you look generationally now, you're using what has been important to you during your time. For us, Instagram. It got huge when I was getting into social media. I love it. I mean, yeah, I'll post on TikTok. I mean, I measure myself through how well I do on Instagram versus anything else. But the
Right.
younger generation, they're all like, Instagram's okay. I mean, that's why culture about lost its mind when TikTok went away, because that's all they've ever had.
My girls did not like that. My wife didn't like that because she's a big TikTok consumer, at least. I don't
Yes.
think any of them create anymore on TikTok, but
Yeah.
they all consume it. So
Yeah. And so,
that's
but yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. Let me ask you this. I want to know your creative journey. Like, where did you learn your skills? I mean, I mentioned I learned everything on YouTube. I mean, Peter McKidden, Jesse Driftwood, Maddie Hapoya, Make Art Now, Josh Yo. Like, those are the people that I followed, and there's
Mhm.
more also. And I learned everything I know pretty much through YouTube, and then trial and error since then.
Yeah.
How did you learn? Especially whenever you think about like some of the basic skills, but then also the more advanced stuff?
Yeah.
Where did you go to?
So in terms of like not as much the technological or the technology side, but if you're looking at strictly just being creative, 100% Brandon and Jen Matthews at Cultivate Church. Jen Matthews, she taught me a lot about creativity when we were there and the time that we served. She, to me, is still one of the most creative people I've ever met. She was a huge part in helping Jeffrey and them at Storyland Overteller. I'm probably saying that wrong. I can't remember how to say that.
Storyland. Oh, so wait.
Is it
Overland
Is it
Storyteller.
Overland Storyteller?
Overland Storyteller. Yeah,
She was
yeah.
a big part of that. Now I know Aaron and Harrison, those guys do all the video stuff now.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
part of the beginning when they were just doing like the branding, all that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So she taught me in terms of just creativity, like how to use that, and then how to use it in church, how to use it in commercial settings. She did that. I'll be 100% honest. The technology side on how to use cameras and stuff, Parker Walbeck,
Oh, yeah.
Landon, by the
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
and Jake Wisner, do Full Time Filmmaker.
Yeah.
It
Did you
just
did you
started.
join the class?
I did. We bought it through ServePro.
Nice.
So what's awesome is I did that. I've been a part of it for years. The group I wasn't a fan of on Facebook felt very toxic. It was one of those things where you post it, people are like, they just shred it, and not in a
Oh, wow.
constructive professional way. They shred. So
Yeah.
I kind of just backed off. I was like, I was like, but I still used it. I mean, I'm actually trying to learn DaVinci Resolve right now.
Yeah.
So I'm using it. Landon did one a long time ago. Well, so I learned all my stuff really from them. And I'll tell you, Landon, by the way, is a big reason why I left ServePro. He was a big part of pushing that. About a year ago, they've actually kind of stopped it now because they're trying to filter more into Full-Time Filmmaker. But he ran I want to call it a mentorship called Happy Creative. It was like $250 a month. I had left. I was getting ready to leave, or feeling like I wanted to leave ServePro. I hadn't locked in anything now. I'm on a contract basis with them now, but still had a little bit of money coming in every month from my buddy. And so I talked to my wife. I said, look, it's $250 a month. I don't have anybody that really mentors me. I don't know how to really push this business. I don't know how to learn to be more creative with things. So I took a leap of faith and I joined the first batch of it. First one was huge, man. They had like 100 and something, 150 people join it. What was awesome is when they first joined, I was in. They used this really cool platform. I can't remember what it was called. It was called Kadavi something, where it was like it created its own interweb, like its own
Yeah. Yeah.
like Facebook. So we use that to communicate. Well, I was involved. I always did it. I did the stuff Landon sent. Man, I had looked up to this guy since he had like 1,000 followers. Like I had followed him when
Yeah.
he first started with it. What was cool, where I really feel like I've grown, is he reached out to me one day, said, hey man, because you had to apply. So you had to put like, well, what do you want to get from this? Why are you coming? Why do you want to do this? So I wrote where I was mentally with ServePro, what I wanted to do, where I felt like I could do more. And so he reached out to me through the platform and said, hey man, I really need some administrators that can help with this group answering questions. I can't do it all the time. Would you be up for it? Like, dude, anything you like, I'm here. And so he did it. He did it with about 10 people. So I got to be in that group, got to know him. I jokingly say that Landon's the most famous person I have in my phone. He gave us his cell phone number, said, y'all need anything, you text me. And so being in that group and listening to the other guys and the other ladies, like how they've left their jobs to do these things, and they pursued, I knew I didn't want to go full time. I knew I wasn't there. I don't consider myself like I don't know how I would lead a team. I hadn't had the opportunity to lead like a big creative team, kind of like what Colin and those guys do.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to be creative and be able to do all day. And I loved church content. Like it's just where I feel like if to me it had the most return, and I felt like I was able to do. So I wrote Landon one day and just said, hey man, I'm going to leave ServePro and I'm going to pursue this opportunity. And it came from those meetings. We met weekly. Every Tuesday he would have a call. man, we got to be on with like Johnny Hofstetter. He's the one that really
Yeah.
put ghost marketing on the map. He was on a call. We got to meet. Obviously,
That
Parker
dude's
was
got a
on.
cool office set up.
John,
He's got
his stuff is I love his stuff. I love his vibe.
yeah.
I'm a branding guy, so I love what he did for Ghost, and I love the way they brand themselves. And
Yeah.
so he was. So we just had these cool creators and people that have done it on a call. And man, I got to meet them and do some things. But watching those and being a part of that stuff is where I really learned from him. And what was crazy is when about a couple months ago, he just knew he bought Full-Time Filmmaker from Parker
Right.
Walbeck. He bought the
Right.
brand. He has like 4 of his own brands, and he bought it, and he felt like it was being neglected. And he's like, I want to grow it. I want to bring it back. And his brand and his vibe is what it needed. And Parker had basically done exactly what he wanted to. He wanted to get to the point where he didn't have to do all this.
Right.
He's got like 7 kids. He was like, I just want
Yeah.
to enjoy life and record what I want to record.
Yeah.
So it was cool. So when he got ready to shut it down, we had one last final call, and I just told him, I was like, man, I know you're shutting down, but you have no idea the impact that you've made on some of these people. I was like, I said, there's people in this group that have changed and done it. And he was like, Adam, you're one of the, you changed jobs because you did this. And so he was like, man, if this is what comes from it for us. So it was just cool to meet him. He's such a down to earth person, but it was just neat to see that full circle. The guy that I learned from, I got to be a part of. And he texted me the other day. He was asking me something. He's doing some series, and he's like, hey, can I shred one of your videos? And I was like, please tear it apart. And so I hope he ends up using it. He may not, but
Yeah.
but I know it sounds cliche, but man, that's where I did like Full-Time Filmmaker. It was an online course. Parker was one of the first ones that really coined having courses to teach just basics, like understanding what ISO is, understanding what shutter speed and all those. And then they stayed up to date as new things came out. And we paid $400 for the course, and they still update it now. And we paid for that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And
There's another program that Colin, I don't think he'd mind me telling this. I think we might have talked about it when he was on the podcast, but Colin bought into sort of like a business side of
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That Creators University stuff.
I feel like I've heard that one. It was more business oriented than producing.
It's video production business. Like, how do you find the work? How do you find the clients? What type of businesses should you be targeting and stuff? And man, I mean, those kind of programs, sometimes that's the game changer. Like, that's the difference between dabbling in video production and like full on, like, you now have a business, and I definitely admire and respect people that choose to invest in that. I struggled with it. I wanted to invest in Creators University. I think at the time, I want to say at the time when I was looking at it, Colin looked at it at a different time for me. So we've talked about it before. There were totally different prices that we were talking about, but I want to say it was like $5,000 when I was looking at potentially joining.
Yeah.
But Colin has said whatever the price he ended up paying, he said he would do it over and over again because it's been so worth it to him. What he's been able to create because of that. Sometimes it just takes that kind of stuff. I was one that I was early on with Peter McKinnon and some of those other creatives to where like basic skills were what they were teaching. So I was
watched
able to
a lot
sort
of Peter McKinnon
along.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, his bag's sitting right there. I mean, I can't. I was a Nomadic fan even before he did that. So when that came out, I was like, oh man, I need that bag.
Yeah, his stuff is really great. There was one thing I was going to mention to you. Have you watched? He's got a guy now that edits for him. He calls him Captain Kirk. Kirk somebody. I don't know Kirk's last name, but he did a video one time talking about changing from Premiere Pro to DaVinci. And man, for me, it was a game changer.
No,
just because
he
takes the shortcuts that he was using in
Yep.
Premiere Pro and says, this is what I did in DaVinci to make it work for me. And
Yeah.
man, I didn't copy all of them, but I copied a lot of his shortcuts, and it sped my process in DaVinci
I
up
need to, bro. I
tenfold,
need to
man.
dabble in it. I bought it during Thanksgiving this past year,
Yeah.
uh, in 24, the last Thanksgiving. They had it for like $200 for the Pro, and it was a one-time purchase.
Right.
So I need to. I'm bad about. I'm a consistency person. Like I have trouble with change. Man, I need something in in Premiere. I can get in there and like dab it
Right.
out. I
Right.
need to take some personal projects and just bite the bullet and
Yeah.
get into it. But
It's a tough transition because you are so used to that layout and the
oh, it's so
shortcuts and
different.
everything. But
Well, the
but
color
man,
grading is just like when I do Lightroom. So, for me, it's just this consistency thing.
yeah.
But
I love color grading was my biggest thing though. I had such a hard time working with S-Log footage in Premiere Pro, and DaVinci just makes it easy. It really does. And
yeah,
I'm not a colorist. I don't do much at all. I just try to get it clean and then get out of there
yeah,
before I mess it up. But DaVinci just makes it so much easier, more consistent. And now I've gotten to where I love editing,
yeah.
even just the timeline kind of stuff on DaVinci.
I need to because I do everything in S-Log.
Yeah.
I made the change. I don't remember if you and I when we had lunch that day. I don't think I had. I think I just made the change, not recently, but I mean, I had applied with a company here in Birmingham, and they are a phenomenal company. I think they're called 90. I think they do such a
Oh
good
yeah,
job on everything.
yeah. 90
Phenomenal.
beautiful stuff they put
Oh,
out.
they do all the SEC. It's gorgeous. They're a
Yeah,
phenomenal
yeah.
company.
Great
I
people.
actually applied to be a videographer. So it's before, again, I knew my days with ServePro were coming. Like I could
Yeah.
feel it. And so it was probably about 3 years ago when I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see if I can get out. Well, I applied and made it to the last round. And I honestly think what held me back is I hadn't done any sports. I hadn't really had a chance to do any of that. And I remember one of the questions they had asked me, I was in a room full of people that it was so intimidating. But one of the questions they had asked me is like, what is something you want to learn and get better at this year? And I was like, I want to start filming a nest log. And I probably in a commercial setting shouldn't have been my answer because they probably were like, oh, that's all we recorded. And he doesn't know how to do that. And
I don't
so
know. I mean, I'm trying to remember the guy's name that used to work for them that I knew.
they hired a guy that was I forgot his name. Man, I knew it was the two of us in that job because when I saw they had hired him, that's who they took over it. But man, he's so good. Like the guy, I can faithfully say they made the right choice. Like they chose the guy that needed to do what they need to get done. But that situation, like it was a gut kick because I felt good. Like they were like, "Hey, great interview. Things went really well. We think you'd be great for this." I'm feeling good. And then on a random Friday, I got an email that said, "Hey, man, we're going to go in a different direction. Thanks for
Mm.
your time. If we have any projects." I remember, man, I got that email and man, it just felt like I've been kicked in the gut. Like I remember calling my wife and I was like, you start feeling like I'm not good enough. Like I can't handle it. But that was for me was that I I was upset in like a mad at myself way. They made the right choice 100%, but I knew I needed to start making some changes and get better if I wanted to do more. And so that was kind of a big propel point for me. It was right toward the end of the year, and I said, "All right, going into the next year, I will not turn my phone or my camera out of S-Log, and if I don't care if it's a project for ServePro, if somebody hired me, I better learn how to get it done or I can't deliver." And
Yeah.
so I turned it into that and said, "You better figure it out." And
and
so,
and I think we all need those. We need
yeah,
those prompts that push us. It sounds like Night Edie was in a really good spot, man. Because if you were if it came down to you and somebody else, and even if it's just in your mind the idea that this other person is better than you, so you were sort of like second choice,
yeah,
that's a pretty good spot to be in.
yeah,
If Adam West is the worst case scenario, because the work
yeah.
I've seen from you, man, they could not have gone wrong with. I mean, you were great. I don't know who the other person is. David Sykes is the guy that I knew that used to work there. He did
Yeah.
a lot of 3D, 2D animation stuff,
Yeah.
and then also did some video stuff for them too. And I think there were some other guys too, but they're a great company. But I would say they couldn't have gone wrong if they would have chosen
Well,
you at all,
I
man.
think a lot, but I think a lot of the reason I feel like I have improved is because of that moment. I think it forced me to be like, all right, I need to do this. Like
Yeah.
I need to get it done. And, that's what kind of changed when I was doing, we had a great opportunity to film some of these bowl games. I don't get to do a lot of these things. And I tried to make the most out of it. We do the Birmingham Bowl every year for ServePro.
Right.
Champ Creative, Sam Miller and them run
Yeah.
that. And
Sam's a
Sam's
great guy.
phenomenal. Sam,
Yeah.
Dustin, Blake Raymond, all those guys that do a lot of that. Heather Jeffcoat, they're a phenomenal team, phenomenal people. And I want, we used to just go down the field, take photos, because what it was is we honor a first responder. And so somebody that's been nominated, the fire departments give someone to us. We would send it to ServePro Corporate. They would nominate, and that's who we would honor at the game. When we did that, I basically decided I'm gonna message Sam and say, hey man, can I stay on the field? Can I? It was literally come down, go back up. That was it.
Right. Right.
And I basically decided to do it that way, and he approved it. And he was like, yeah, man, I'll get you a media pass. And so I said, I'm going to use this to get this sports content that I've never had, so, cause I
Yeah.
didn't, when I went with ID, I didn't have anything to show them. I mean, I was like, I've done a ton of commercial work, but I had nothing with that. So it was good. So I did that, and it allowed me to create a great relationship with Sam, and do some of those, again, just connection, and then showing up in the moment when you have an opportunity. Treat it like Eminem and just, man, you just do it, right? Like, I mean, it's either sink or swim.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let me clarify something with you just because I've heard you say this, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So you did step out from ServePro from a full-time position.
mm-hmm.
And did you go full-time with the church, or are you
Yeah.
still okay? So you're full-time
Yeah.
with the church, but then your contract.
Mm-hmm.
So through your LLC, you contract with
Yeah.
ServePro to still, because I know you still work with them. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, we're talking about the podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Actually, when we're
now
done with this call today, I got stuff I do for him every Friday. But yeah, it
we're
was a great opportunity. What was funny is I did a couple projects for the church. The girl that introduced me to him, Easter 2 years ago, had someone not show up the day of Easter to take photos. So they had nothing. And she was like,
that's not a
hey,
good thing.
no, not in, you need that. And so
Wow.
she was like, hey, would you want to come out? Like, they'll pay you. And I'm like, no, they're not going to pay me. Like, I'll just come out. Well, it said it'll be a good break for me to, take a break where I'm taking pictures or something else. I'd be glad to. I'll come do it. So I did it. Met Pastor Jeremy Saylor, who's the lead pastor, and Pastor Noah Ray, who's the associate. Both of them are technically my bosses. That's who I report to. And his wife, Meg, Pastor Meg, she's the creative pastor. I work for the three of them. I did projects for them on and off for about 2 years. I helped them with a Christmas project that I, again, didn't like, hey, I'm just going to do this. I'll help you with it. We recorded it. It was right after COVID, probably a year or so after COVID, where people still weren't
Yeah.
meeting in big settings.
What church is this?
Christian Life Church. It's over on
Okay.
Valleydale,
Yeah.
about halfway down the middle
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you're between 280 and there. And last Easter, they reached out and said, hey, would you help us produce a video? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And they're like, we want to pay you. I'm like, what would it cost? So I just put together what it would cost. I said, this is what it'll be. We basically made 3 different videos, basically sharing the story of the prodigal son. They were using that as their Easter message. And so
Yeah.
we made 3 short videos that Pastor Jeremy used in his illustration throughout the message. They were less than 2 minutes, but we filmed at their house. And I tell people, I remember when we were done filming that day, everybody had left. We had cleaned up. We had about 15 people be a part of it. And Pastor Jeremy and Pastor Meg, I was just cleaning up, and they cornered me in their house while I was cleaning up. And he straight up been like, so Kylie tells me you're not happy with what you're doing at ServePro. Would you want to come work for us? And I was like, what? And so I was like, man, I don't know. It's a good position. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could be doing more. I feel like there's I want to create more. I don't get the opportunity. It's just a lot of desk writing. There's things we got to get done. And through that, just did it, and finally just felt like it's where I was being called to do. So took the full-time job. I pitched it to Brady, say, hey, look, I know I'm leaving, but I have a side business. I would love to still work for you. If you would like to do a contract. I said, look, you could either try to find someone else to do, because I was doing so much, like
Right.
making videos, digital marketing, Google specialist, website update, like photos. I did so much and loved every moment of it. And I just kind of said, hey, you can either go, I said, look, there's two things. You and I can work out something. I'd be love to have a contract with you. It would be great for me to do this, or you try to hire somebody else that does all this, and you're going to end up paying a lot. And I wasn't saying in a negative way, like it's going to be expensive to do, or you're going to have multiple people, or let me still help you. I know the system. I know ServePro. I know what we need for this, and so he and I sat down, came to some terms on things. And he said, let's do it. And so and what's great is, because of the package he chose, I said, look, I won't take on another client your size. You'll be my only one. So I'll handle you. That way you get my full attention. And so it's been a great relationship. He needs me. He calls me. We work on stuff. I've got a couple projects I'm going to do for him today. And it's nice because I love the two of them. They've been instrumental in my journey. So I still get to be a part of that. And typically the first Friday of every month, I spend all day there, which is where I was going to be today. But we had to pivot because we were going to film a video next Friday that we need to plan out a little more. And so it worked out well. So.
Yeah. Well, you and I need to talk probably, we need to revisit the coffee shop, and I'd love to know maybe some of the more details of how that contract works with you and them. I tried to do a similar thing when I left Shelby County Schools. The difference is they had another person that was equal to me, my coworker Cole Peavy, and so he's still there. Now they've hired, or at least posted, a position to replace me. But even my biggest client is sort of an ed tech company, and I would like to at some point maybe look at that idea of like, how can I solidify this and grow this, and then also make sure that I respect them enough for their investment in me to where I don't start adding another client that's of that same level or size. So that's interesting. I think that sounds like a great idea. And like you said, you're able to just keep doing what you're doing. Not as much of your life changed.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that it gives you more flexibility and room to grow and add, which is a lot of what I wanted to do as well.
Yeah. I can tell you, I've rarely had a Friday off since so the church, we're off on Friday, Saturdays.
Yeah.
I have trouble with resting. They gave me a hard time at the church for all the time. Like, Adam, you need rest. Like, I'm like, man, people need work done, so I'm gonna do it. So, but yeah, it's been good, because that was one of the other things when my wife and I talked. I was like, look, I don't know what life is after this. I want to make sure if we have the ability, one of the big things Benji and Brady always taught us from ServePro is that it's all about your family tree, and how can we invest in them now? So if I can do some of these side projects and do some things to put money away for the girls, that's what I'm going to do. If I have the ability to do it and I have the time, let's do it. So it's been a huge thing. And being that has allowed me to take on other clients on Fridays and to do these things. And I try to say, hey, if you can do a Friday, if not, and that's really been my stipulation a lot with these, is that I'm not in a position where I have to do something. I say, hey, I can do Friday or Saturday. We can figure that out based on what we have going on with the family. Family always comes first. If it interferes with that, I won't do it.
Yeah.
But I'm very blessed to be in that situation where it's not like my wife and I say, hey, you got to go do it. You got to miss this ball game, or you got to, I don't have to do those things. And it's been great. Most of the clients I work with, I try to find a schedule that works for them, and we do Fridays, and it's been awesome. And I've just been able to do a lot of those on Fridays.
Well, I want to look at some of the work that you do. Specifically, I know with your website. Let me see where I've got that up here somewhere, I think. Well, I thought I did. Where's your
While
website?
you do that, I don't know if you want to cut this, Brian. I may try to turn that light on.
Yeah.
I promise you, dude, I have never had this many issues with technology. We record the podcast all the time, and none of this stuff ever happens.
It's
Like,
so funny,
ever.
man. No, I love it. I think, hey, the more you can, again, your setup looks better than mine. So the more mess ups you can experience on your side, the better for me. All of my lights are about to go out.
Well, so what's awesome is, total side note. I've been wanting these tube lights for a long time. I bought them during Black Friday because they were, I mean, Aperture had everything. I bought a I bought a 150C, love
Yeah.
it. A
Yeah.
300C, love it. Bought the two tube lights. I think I got all of it for right at $1,100 maybe,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
including soft boxes and everything. So I was like, I need to update my gear. So, and it's nice because then I took the other lights that I had and just left them in my office. So
Right. Yeah. The man, the bicolor and the full RGB lights that Amaran puts out now, I love it. I love
well,
it.
my favorite part is the app. I love the fact, and that honestly is why I chose them, because I'm a huge small rig fan. I
Yeah.
love Nanolite. I love all that stuff. The reason I chose Aperture and them to, maybe it's not plugged in. Like, maybe I
It's
don't have it all the way plugged in. It has to be what it is. It's not charging. We're done. Okay.
that's
People enjoy.
yeah.
Hopefully this
Bye,
never happens on
everybody.
a set. I do love the fact that what's nice is, like, when I set up scenes, and I can set up like all those lights. And I bought the iPad mini because I love having something small that I can do. I can control everything, and I can set the scene from one place rather than walking over and doing this and doing that. So,
Yeah. Well,
anyways,
I still use the old Citus Link app for the Amaran stuff. I need to upgrade to the new,
that's what it
because
is. I think it's the same app.
well, they have a new app now, from what I understand.
They
That's
have a pro version, and that's
oh,
really, I think that's more for like DMX and stuff as well. Like, you
right.
can add
Yeah.
those into it, which I
I
don't have.
thought, I think Amaranth did, or Aperture did, their own app separate from Citus Link that you can do now. That's supposed to be even better, I
Yeah.
think. But
Citus is what I'm using. They have an iPad version and they have a iPhone version.
yeah,
The iPad version looks more like a controller. Like,
okay.
it's great.
Yeah, I love it. I love, but I love that stuff in general. You know, I'm gonna actually just skip looking at your work. Is that okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Mainly, I would encourage everybody, go check out your Instagram. Your work does look incredible. I love the photography you do. I love the
Haven't figured out
video.
my business page yet. Don't judge me, folks. I'm one of these people that I'm like, I got to post for the church, and I got to post for ServePro. I got to post for myself. I'm like, how?
But
What?
well,
So,
I just love. I think you are a great photographer. I think you are a great videographer. The church stuff always looks beautiful. I mean, I've never seen a video from you that I thought was like not well shot. Obviously,
yeah,
you've worked on your S-Log stuff, because your colors look incredible. The saturation, it's punchy. It
yeah.
works great for churches with good lighting situations, which are so many of them now. It's a relatively easy thing to make look good, but also I think what I see from you is that good use of like various positions, various focal lengths, a lot of foreground objects that are always
Hmm.
good. You know, you focus, like you're even shifting focus from the foreground object, the hand raised versus the stage. Like, you do a great job. I would put you up against any Highlands. I mean, around here we got Highlands as the big
They're boss.
competition, you know. So, but I would put you up against any Highlands creative team, the kind of work that I see from them. Now, we're not talking they're like big, huge, like
No, I have not ever had the chance to do any of that stuff. I
yeah,
would
like
love to learn.
I watched their Father's Day video one year being shot. Like, that is a full
Production.
TV commercial film crew. They show up with a big set.
And they're running Aries. I mean,
They are, yeah.
they're not running like an FX3 or even
No,
like we're like, man, I just want to buy an FX6. And they're like, well, here's my Ari over here.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
no. But I really do, man. I think your
Yeah.
stuff looks so beautiful.
Thanks,
I
man.
think you do such a great job. Now, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about the podcast specifically, because I think this is something that looks so great. First of all, y'all have a website just for the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do a great job sort of running it.
I actually Benji, our ServePro owners, Benji and Brady Wilson.
Yeah.
Benji actually does a lot of the website stuff. I handle YouTube and our social media. It's tough because sometimes, like this last podcast we did was a part 2, a little shorter. Man, it's just tough sometimes to like dig out content to post consistently. We post every other Monday, so every 2 weeks, and it's really with their schedule. They're running a huge company, so.
Which one was it that really you ended up speaking up a lot on? Like what I want to
Oh
say
yeah,
it
if
was
you go to
pertaining to your work.
yeah, if you go to the short, it was the last podcast we were talking a little bit about just
This one
creating.
specifically, how are
Yeah,
you
that
spending
one
your
and the one
time
before that
or
a little bit. I try to do more of them because of what it's geared toward. But it just depends. But we have some episodes. I typically let them run the conversation, and then I really produce it more than anything.
yeah.
But yeah, this last one we were really talking about creating a legacy, and it was a 2-part financial series. That's Brady's bread and butter. He's a financial guy, and we were talking about creating a legacy and how that can help with things. And I just talked about how I may not be running a business like they are, but it allows me to do more along the lines of how can I lead my family like a business. And so that's where I kind of interject and give those, because we're on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like they're 40 years into the business, top 10 ServePro in the nation, and I'm a 2-year LLC that's just trying to make sure that I'm doing my taxes right. So
Right. You just don't want to go to jail.
I don't want to go to jail. I want to do it right. So.
Well, I think you do really great with this. I think you've done a great job of your setup, obviously, as well as you said. Is it Brady?
So
Benji.
Brady, Benji is on the left. He's the guy with the headphones on.
Yeah,
And then Brady is on the right. So they are brothers. They're a yin and yang,
yeah.
and so they really do it together. But yeah, so we're working on that shot. I kind of help set Benji's up a little bit. That's
Right.
why his
Yeah.
looks the way it does. He's funny. He loves doing stuff to help. The dude has a heart of gold when it comes to churches. He literally will give them anything that's needed if it helps the church. And so,
Yeah.
so he does a little series on himself with some of the things he does. He calls it the B Dub Studios. It's Benji Wilson B Dub. So it was his joking kind of call sign. And so he set all that stuff up, and it looks great.
Yeah, no, his shot looks great. I love his. Definitely, we see with. I'm horrible with names. This is Benji. The other one's Brady.
Brady, yeah.
Brady. Yeah, Brady's definitely, like you said, he's
He's
the
coming
ops
from
guy.
his laptop. I think he did buy a little bitty like webcam that he put on top, so he's working for it. But it's very business oriented. It's all about experiences that they have. The whole point of calling it higher up is to really push yourself to do better and to have more, especially in the entrepreneurship realm. And so they share those examples that they do, and so it allows me. I try to guide the conversation. So we do meeting notes, we prep the show, we do all those things, we have it laid out. So my job typically is to help lead them into the conversation, ask them questions, do things like that, and then every once in a while I'll interject. I'll interject myself a little bit just to kind of give them that play from a different angle. So
Yeah. Conversations, man. I mean, podcast format is such a fun thing because it can be so candid and raw. Do you ever have to like cut parts out that they end up telling you later, we can't do that, or we didn't like that? They're really sort of candid guys in general?
they're really candid.
Do you have lights cut out on your set all the time during this?
Never. That's why this is embarrassing. Like, never has this happened. What's funny is I don't know if it's just the software that we use, but never have we had an issue with like my computer, like my screensaver, because it's always active because I'm literally on a
Right.
call. But
Yeah.
never have I had that happen at all. Of course, I do it with you today, in front
Right.
of what will probably be all my peers, and they're like, "This guy,
This guy, he doesn't know what he's
this light
doing.
doesn't work over here anymore, people." So
It's just there for
aesthetic
no
look.
reason.
But what's funny is the one behind me that's behind me is still working.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, I want to congratulate you on a beautiful family, man.
Thank you.
That's something.
It's all Emily. It's all her.
I get that. I totally get that, man. My wife, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't be the person I am. She has shaped me in so much. But marriage is one of those things that is beautiful and difficult and wonderful and horrible all at the same time.
Yeah.
Parenting's the same way, man. And I just really just respect the grind of being a creative with working, like you said, pretty much constantly, while at the same time giving time to your family, loving on your kids, loving on your wife, and just props on all of that, man. Congratulations.
Only thing I wish I had done better is been better at filming. I wish I had captured them earlier in life. Like I've always taken their pictures. We have
Right.
my girls always know. All right, Dad, take my picture. I know you want to, but I wish I had been better. And for anybody listening, if you're this and you have young kids, like film them. I would, I wish I had been better about filming them.
Not even like best quality film.
No,
I have one of my favorite videos in my entire life is one of my daughters, Addison. We had just got into a room with her for the first time. Both of my twins, they had to be NICU babies for a while, right? And
Gracie was as well, our youngest. She was in there a week and a half.
So Taylor was in NICU for 2 weeks. She had to have surgery the day after she was born. Addison was in NICU just to sort of feed and grow. Well, then we had to go to children's.
That's right. We both have Addisons. I forgot that.
Oh, yeah.
Our oldest is Addison.
So we had to go to children's for the remainder of Taylor's time. Well, they gave us a room to go into with Addison, and until Taylor was able to get in there with us. Well, anyway, we're in this room, and I'm videoing Addison because she's hiccuping. The cutest thing in the world is a baby's hiccups, you know, especially like a newborn baby. And that is seriously still to this day one of my favorite videos of all time. It's just this little hiccup. You know, I mean, just like the cutest thing ever. So I agree with you. Video those babies as often as you can.
Often as you can. My favorite video that I've done of them, I posted it on Instagram. It was right after I didn't get to move forward with Night Edie. It was just part of my process. Like, how do I process what happened? How do I process this thing that I've been giving a lot of energy to, and making changes, hoping this is what was next in our chapter. And because it was during the summer, and one day, you know what it was? Is I was like, I'm recording a log. Like, I'm going to start doing this. And we were playing out.
Get in here.
We were just playing in the backyard. It was right after I had an F. It was funny is I had an FX3, sold it, and rebought another one because I was trying to save money. And it was outside. I was just playing with my FX3. I just had it, and I filmed them jumping around in the water. And I even talked about in the caption that this is why I need to do this. And I remember it was just a way for me to get it out, like take a moment, say how I feel. And it's probably today still one of my favorite videos. And it's just the two of them. And it was some trend of audio I hear about how much you love your kids and you do everything for them. And I put it on there. That was probably today I would say is my favorite video I've ever done. Very similar to what you're talking about. I would watch that every day over and over again. So,
yeah, I was going to see if I could find it.
I think it's down there. There's also one that I did where we're at the lake. Do you remember the trend where
this isn't it here, is it?
It's the one with her right there where she's in her bathing suit. And it was just a couple shots that I did of them. And I would say today that's still, we were just hanging out in the backyard.
Yeah.
So I did one too with them about 2 summers ago. And I used that trendy music where it was like you hear the Toy Story, like to infinity and beyond. And
yeah,
I did it, and it's one of those things where I'm like, like I can't watch it without, like you feel it. But yeah, I that's one thing I want to do better about this year is just filming them, man, just capturing them in a moment.
One of my more recent favorite shots is my twins. I think it was their 13th birthday. They're 17 now, but their 13th birthday, I think because they were turning teenagers, we did like a yard sign, and it's like the morning of, so they're going to school, and I'm videoing. I've got my camera like right in Taylor's face, and girls can be a little, children in general can be a little extra edgy in the morning,
Yes.
and I'm putting this
Yes.
camera right in her face, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, stop, Dad, God," just like she's hating me right now. And of course, I edited this video together because I think we ended up taking them to Six Flags and stuff. And at maybe the beginning or the end has that part in it. It's one
Uh-huh.
of my favorite parts. I love the rawness of it. I love the
Yeah.
truth of it.
Yep.
And I love the fact, I think I was telling her, like, congratulations, you've survived another year. Way to go. Like, I'm
Yeah.
really just giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
And she's hating every bit of it. So
Yes.
even as teenagers, keep videoing,
Oh, dude, you're gonna catch me doing it forever. Like I'm just
That's
gonna keep
awesome.
doing as much as I can.
Yeah. I also encourage people to do this. Take pictures and video of your wife with your children, even
Yes.
if it's like
Or of
first
each
thing in the
other.
morning.
We have no photos of each other. We're terrible at that.
Hey, this lens is what I love about it. It's a 20 mil, and I take that on our vacations, and
Uh-huh.
it's a great selfie kind of lens. Beautiful
Is that
photos.
the little Sony G Master 20
It's a G. It's just G series.
G
It's not G
series? Yeah,
Master, but it's
I've
20
been wanting
mil,
to pick up one of those
1.8.
because it's nice and nifty. You can put it
Add
in
it,
a bag.
add it to your cart, man. Add it to your cart.
Um,
All right, I want to ask you, what is, and I'm sorry, I'm like butchering our time. Like, we're on
oh,
here
you're
already
good.
for an hour and a half, so I apologize. Let me know if I'm running you late for
No,
anything.
you're
But
good. You're
I've got a
good.
few questions, and then we'll be wrapping this up. So first of all, tell me about your biggest challenge. I want to know, like, in your creative journey, what is like the biggest challenge you've ever faced? How did you overcome it? What did you learn from it? Anything like that. Biggest challenge.
Oh man, that's a good question.
And it
Because
can be a big challenge. It doesn't have to be the ultimate biggest challenge.
man, there's so many. I would say, and even now, like I feel like I've had plenty of like challenges on projects. Like, how do you do something? How do you make it work? How do we, I feel like I've done everything to deal with challenges on projects. I would say one of the challenges I deal with the most even now is my time management. And I'm sure that's what you hear so many people in our position say is like time management, time management. But I need to, that's where I feel like I struggle even now, finding time for myself, to just create things. Like I record so much behind the scenes and stuff. And
Yeah.
man, I need to be better about showing my work and doing it. I mean, I'm on a place where I post maybe 2 times a month, if three, if I'm lucky. And I need to be better about doing that and just editing for the joy of it versus editing for someone else. I felt, I do work for my clients. I do work for the church. I do work for other people. But I think that's the biggest challenge I face right now is just finding time to work on things for me. There's no deadline. There's no expectation. There's no, performance management scale that we've got to fit with a client to make sure what we created is performing the way it's supposed to perform. So I think for me, that's something that I struggle with even now is finding those things to manage my time better. I'm ADHD. Man, I could sit down and work on something and, you know, I hear a fly buzz by and you're like, what? And I just get disconnected so quickly. And
Yeah.
that's a huge struggle of mine that I have. And it's a challenge that I feel like I face even now is I try to be better about that and just being aware of that when it happens. Like, all right, Adam, you're getting sidetracked. You need to get these things done. I was my wife. I probably shouldn't even share this, but this morning I was talking with my wife, and I was like, it sounds so prude because she looked at me and she was like, "You just sound so prude right now." But I was sitting getting ready, and she was in the bathroom still getting ready. And I was like, I was thinking through, I got to do this today. I got to do this. I got to get this. I got to get this person. And I just told my wife, I was like, babe, when did I become so important? And she was, and I was like, I don't mean that like it sounds. said, that sounds so bad. I was like, I'm not important. I said, but I'm just thinking through, I'm like, I got to go take photos for this person. I've got to go and pick this up. I got to answer this email. I got to work on this project. And I said, I got to get this done for this person. I got to collect money from them. I just thinking through everything I got to get done.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a challenge I face even with every project, is doing it. And I'm a big guy that it's quality over quantity. Like, to me, I want to make sure that it's a quality product, because if it doesn't do what it needs to for my client or for whatever I'm doing for them, what's the purpose of doing it? Like,
Yeah.
it needs to be able to help them achieve their goal. And so I try to be better with it. I try to be better with doing those things, and just with my time, I want to make sure I spend enough with the girls. But what I've really tried to do is intertwine the things that I do with them. So, for instance, every Sunday, Addison, my oldest, is great about getting up. She goes to church with me. She goes to church with me
Right.
every morning. We have a tradition where we go to Starbucks and we get her a drink that she's probably not going to finish, but I do, we do it anyways.
Pay way too much for.
Way too much for her, but it's our tradition. It's what we do. She's big into softball. She's getting really better. She's a 10U player here in Chelsea. But man, one of the things that I do for and I've had people offer, but I'm one of these people that I feel like I've been blessed with a gift, and I try to give it away as much as possible. But where I try to, I'm on the field with her every game, not coaching, but I take pictures for the team, and then I go edit them, and I just send them in our group meet to the parents. I'm like, hey, y'all, enjoy. These are moments. I want y'all to have them, enjoy it. And I've had parents be like, hey, what can we pay? I'm like, nothing. I said, take these moments. I said, I get joy from people putting them on the wall. Just take these moments. I hope you put them on your walls. That to me means more than any type of financial, is the fact that you took a photo that I took and you hung it on the wall in your house, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's where I feel like with those challenges I do, and that's how I try to face them, is to make sure that those things we do. So like tomorrow night, we're taking some pictures for a teenager in the church that's done a lot for me, helping me with projects. So I was like, hey, y'all have prom. Why don't y'all just let me help? I'll come take pictures. And so, but the girl, Addie, will come with me. She loves it. She wants to walk around. She wants to hold my camera when I'm changing. I'll have two cameras, one with different focal lengths, and she'll want to hold it and absorb it. And then we'll go out to dinner afterwards. So it's just been those pockets of time I've tried to insert them into that, not as a way to steal time from them, for them to be a part of it, especially my oldest. So maybe she wants to do it and be a
Yeah.
part of that.
Yeah. I
So,
think that's a good idea, to involve them or involve yourself with them in
mhm.
situations when you can. That way, you're not just working all the time and separate from them. If you can ever tie your work in with them, even better.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to go into the classroom when I worked at Shelby County Schools. I'd go into some of their classrooms and just take video of them randomly. Like, it was probably, everybody's like, "Who is this guy?"
If I
But
had the
yeah.
opportunity, I'd do it in a heartbeat. That's why I
Oh
do it on the
man,
field.
I bother them all the time, especially my girls. Man, they hated it. They're like, "What in the world? Why are you in here, Dad?"
Yeah,
So,
that's how mine feel. But
yeah,
that's my challenge. That's my challenge, is I want to be better with my time. I try to be better with it, just in time management of projects. I try to be very respectful of my clients' deadlines.
yeah,
I try to be respectful of the church's deadlines, even my own family. It's one of the things, like tonight we talked about. I said, hey, I'm going to try to make sure everything's done today before y'all get home. Let's say, like, we're going through Harry Potter again. Like, the girls they're older, they want to watch it. So I was like, babe, I'm not going to work on anything. Cause sometimes Friday nights are real chill. So I might work on a reel for myself or do something. I was
right,
like, let's just sit and let's watch a movie. Let's hang out. Cause tomorrow I've got to film for the church at 11, and then we got to do photos tomorrow night. So I said, look, let's do this. So it's just, anybody that can share how they handle it, I'm here for it. Any advice you can give, but man, I try to be really good about doing that. One of the things that I've tried to do to be better, I carry the field notes with me,
yeah,
and so yeah, this is called a Lockby case. I love this. No, this is not sponsored. If you want to sponsor Brian, he's right here. Give him a sponsor. But it's a Lockby case that I carry, and I carry two field notes in it. So one of the things I try to do with my time is, and this is something I learned from Landon, by the way, it's called the 3-day method. So it's 3 times a day So in here every night, I try to write down what I need to do in the morning, even if it's getting out of bed at 4:30 to go to the gym. I write it down. Well, I split my day up into 3 times: before lunch, after lunch, and at night. And so what I try to do is write these down. Hey, these are the things I need to do today. And I use like I use my to do on my for big projects and stuff on my computer and my phone. But there's something about writing it down. And this is what I've tried to do with my challenge to help with my time to be. So it sits on my desk the whole time. So as I complete something, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. Dude, even if it's like I have a meeting to go to. And I mean, that should take no effort. Like I know I'm supposed to be at the meeting, right? But it's something for me to mark off. And I carry this. And then I carry one on the back that's just random thoughts. Like I wrote down something yesterday that said, why do I always have to look at somebody else's work before I do my own? Like it's just a thought that I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's
Well,
kind of how I try to deal with that challenge is if I write it down and there's just something about physically marking it off versus clicking a button or clicking a screen.
I feel like our work, because especially nowadays with the powerful, laptops that I'm on a laptop right now and I can take this anywhere in the world with me and I can work. That's a powerful thing and an incredible thing and a terrible thing all at the same time, because I can be literally in the midst of my family and they're doing and experiencing joy or trauma or whatever else.
Whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah. And I'm absent. I'm physically present, but because I delve into my computer, my work, I can be absent. And that's a real challenge I feel like we all face, that we have to, like, at some point you got to commit. I'm turning this off. And I'm looking at my kids. I'm listening to my kids. I'm spending time with my wife. We all do that with our phones too, but I think with our work, we can really almost excuse it more so. If you're doom scrolling, you feel the guilt there. But if you're working on a project, when you could be spending family time, you almost excuse it more, and but yet it's still just as damaging to that family. So,
man, I saw a reel. It's completely separate from anything we're talking about, but I saw a reel like a few
completely
months ago,
separate note.
but it just reminds me. It was a reel. It's one. I have one or two pages I follow that's like it's called like Tired Dad or something. He's he does a lot of stuff about this, about being a father. He posted one where he's standing in the kitchen on the phone. It's just a single shot. It was a great reel. And it's a single shot. He's standing there. He's on his phone, and his kid's just like jumping and trying to get his attention. And dude, when I am doing something, or I'm gonna get choked up thing right now. But anytime I'm doing something, I think about it because I'm like, I just don't want that to be their memory of dad.
Right.
I mean, we're growing, but my parents didn't have phones and stuff like that when they were young, so I just don't want them growing up thinking that's my mom. And I honestly, man, I think that's the challenge that I face too now. Is it can go back to that time. Man, I want to make sure that I don't, like you said, I love the way you said that. I don't want to use that as an excuse to do that. Like, well, dad's working, and yes, there are moments where on the weekends it's going to happen. There are times where I know we'll do something tonight and I got to do something tomorrow, and the girls will want to do something. I'm like, girl, let me finish this. But I want to make sure that those moments are less than the moments that I say, yes, hey, let's do this. Let's go outside. Last Sunday, all Addie wanted to do was our Emily's brother-in-law gave us a batting net. All she wanted to do was go outside and hit a couple balls off the tee. And I had stuff I had to do for church. I said, you know what? If somebody goes to our YouTube page and we don't have a cover from today's message, they'll be fine. Okay. We're good, Right. And so I said, it'll get done tonight. But it was just, it was a moment where I could have said no, but I was like, let's go ahead. Let's go hit call. So we did it for an hour, and she was fine. After an hour, she's like, Dad, I'm done. I'm going inside.
I've been trying to put things down and go for a walk with my kids. Like we got this annoying dog that everyone loves at this house, but her name's Debbie. If that says anything about how we name our dogs.
At least it's not Karen. That'd be worse.
Yeah, that's true. She can be a Karen at times, but Debbie, she needs to go for a walk, and I'm the only one that usually takes her. And so I try to invite my kids to go with me because it's just time for us. You can't really look at your phone while you're walking a dog.
Yeah.
I can't work while I'm walking a dog. And so it's a chance for me and my son, or me and one of my daughters, to just, walk and talk and maybe not even walk and talk, maybe just spend time together doing something together. That's been really good for me. It forces me to slow down and pay attention.
Yeah. I think about how tough it is for me to find time for my own parents right now. It's just with the girls and everything else. And so, and not that they didn't intentionally make sure we had strong relationships when we were younger, but I told Emily, I was like, I just want to make sure that I build a good relationship with them, that when they are older, I understand they're going to have things going on, but they're going to want to do these things and hang out and do that. So,
yeah, that's what we hope for, man.
Yeah,
just trying to make it. We're just trying to make it. I'm probably screwing them all up, but I'm trying to do as good as I can.
These photos you found, by the way.
These are my favorite. These are my favorite.
Oh my goodness!
I was proud of this page. So, do you care to elaborate on any of these? Like, explain any of them?
So the one where I'm screaming, when Emily and I first started dating, we wouldn't go out or do anything crazy. She loved reading. So we would spend our Friday nights and Saturdays. I would play Call of Duty with my buddies, and she just wanted to sit in the room and read, and she was fine. And I think I sent this to her as a joke because she used to tell me that I was I would yell and scream at the TV. That wasn't a kill. That ain't just. And I mean, probably things I should never repeat. When I was younger. So the other two were from work. One was a work Christmas party, and the other one was from a Christmas parade. They were all when I worked at the Y. So
yeah, those are
we
great.
Just saw
man.
Those. I was like, Brian, where did you find these?
Yeah. Hey, I try to dig deep, man. I found your dad's Facebook page. Your mom. No. I think I found both your mom and dad because I think your dad had linked your mom.
Yeah.
But I never could find much. I was hoping that's usually a really good spot to go.
My mom,
if you can find a
good.
mom,
so she sends things separately to us. Like my birthday was last week, and she sent me all these pictures from when I was born. She's like, "This is my favorite moment you have. This is when you made me a mom," and she sent all these photos, and I'm like,
"Tell her
Mom,
I
why
need
do you still
her.
Have these?
I need her to put those on Facebook. Come on, Mom, help me out."
There's some bad ones. And I guarantee you, dude, she'll watch this whole thing. Doesn't matter if you go back and you trim it down, whatever you do. She would sit and watch the raw. I mean, she'll support anything I do. She's just like Emily. I mean, Emily does probably get tired of me saying, "Hey, babe, will you watch this video?" She's like, "No," because I've heard it 40,000 times as you've been editing because you don't wear headphones.
Yeah,
But she'd watch the whole thing. So yeah, she's got some stuff. She's got
That's
plenty.
awesome. I'm waiting for somebody to say, "Hey, let me share what I found on you." My mom has one year I was 13, which is a really confident year for any young man, right? And and I had braces, which really boosts your confidence. And then my mom got me to do pictures with a giant teddy bear. 13-year-old boy with braces and a giant teddy bear.
You're like, well, there goes my social life.
There goes my manhood. It was, before it even started, it was gone. It was very humiliating. And
I was checking yours. You can't find anything though. Yours, it feels like you've cleaned your page very well.
I really haven't. It's just my mom thankfully never shared those. This was before social media, so those are printed. She's got them in a box somewhere at her house. But yeah. I
mean, even your stuff, I'm rolling through yours right now. I'm like, you ain't got nothing on here to use to anybody. You're good to go.
There's a few out there probably, but thankfully it's not that stuff. Most of my really humiliating stuff's not public. So
not up there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, believe me, Emily has quite a few as well.
I'm going to have to start researching, reaching out to people. So, all right. So I do have a question on this slide. What's next for you? I mean, I'm not sure how long ago it was that you stepped out, but relatively recently, you've started this company. You're definitely all in at the church. But what's next for you? What do you have any plans that are already in motion? Do you have hopes and aspirations? Like, what does that look like for you?
No, I mean, yeah, a lot of it is revolved around what we're doing at the church. I mean, yes, I have the LLC that we've made. I want to grow that. Right now, my short term goal is like getting to 5 figures a month of retainer. Like that's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
Like if I could get to 10,000 a month of retainer things I'm doing, that's my short term goal. Like that's where I want to get to, where I can do some of these things now that we can just put money away, invest in the business, put this. I mean, I don't have any. There's nothing long term right now where I'm like, hey, I want to eventually get to where I don't. I just work for myself full time.
Right.
I've just being working full time for a church is something I've wanted for a long time, especially from my days at Cultivate, being there and enjoying that life. And it's nice. We're in a season now where it's kind of weird. We're in the season where it's like things aren't tough, but they're also good. You know, it's kind of this weird, like I've made changes. I've gotten to do something. I'm getting to do something new that I haven't gotten to do now. So you kind of hit us in that spot where it's like, man, this is good. Like we're getting to do this. We're getting to try some things. I think right now the next step right now is to build a team at the church. I want to see it grow. I want to see our team grow. I want to see our students grow. And I have no idea how. So
Yeah.
just know I am trying to figure that out. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. That's one of the things that when I messaged Colin, I was like, I just want to watch a teamwork like on a production. I'm so used to being by myself, setting up my own light, setting up this and remembering that, you know, I want it, but I'm excited about having that. And one of the things that I said when we came in um, with our creative team, I was like, I want us to be the standard. I was like, I want us to be some. I don't want us to be the ones that were constantly looking what all the other churches are doing and how can we make that. I want us to be somebody that other churches are saying like, man, that was awesome that they made. Well,
Yeah.
how can we do this? You know, and you know, I'm not obviously would never try to be larger than like a Highlands or anything. They're phenomenal. Their creative team is one of the best in the nation. I mean, it's undeniable. Um,
Right.
but that's what I want to. I want to get to something like that where people see, especially a church our size. You know, a lot of times good production is measured by, well, how big is your church? And he just said, you know what? We have a church of we're between that like 600 and 1,000 attendees a day mark. We're in there. Um, I want to be able to show that, hey, we not may be a 10,000 person church, but we can make quality content that's doing
Yeah.
exactly what it's supposed to do for our church. We're working on building a studio. We're working on doing some of these things. I want to, you know, obviously want to build some podcast stuff with our pastors and do some of these things. So right now, a lot of my next is really involved in how I can grow that, because I want to get to where as we grow it, I'm not having to do all these things. I have people that want to learn it or doing it and have an opportunity to do it, because I want the church to be a place that it's okay for them to fail at. Right. Like I don't know if that, how I'm saying that. I want them to feel okay with not getting the shot and not
Right.
getting, but learning from it in a place that allows them to learn. You know, I don't want them to feel like just because they didn't get something, well, they're not going to use me again. No, we're going to take what happened. I mean, last week we had the same thing happen with one of our photographers. I couldn't use any of it. It was just
Mm.
rough. They weren't looking at the settings, none of that. It was just a learning point. So we sat down. We said, look at this. Look at this. This is what happens. You have to focus. You have to make sure you're changing. You have to be aware of the situation. So I love that, because that's a place for them to be like, it's okay, we're going to throw away all 400 of these, but guess what? I'm going to let you do it again next week. And if you
Yeah.
do it again, we'll learn from it there.
I
And so
I had a I had somebody, I'm trying to remember who it was. I want to say it may have been Brody Burgess, if you know him.
it
He
sounds so familiar.
So you know Rick Burgess, right?
Okay, that's
With
fine.
Rick and Bubba. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Brody. Brody's one of his sons, but Brody's a creative, and I've interviewed him for the podcast. And Brody's just a super talented guy, but he got his start in a church setting, and he talked about that it was almost like this safe place to try things that didn't always work out.
Yep.
And then you just got to go back and try it again, and I feel that way about school. I feel like that when I was teaching, it was just a really safe place because, people were excited to get what you were doing regardless. But then also, it
Just test it.
yeah, if things didn't work out, you just move on to the next thing and try again.
Yep.
And so I think everyone needs that room. And you don't always get that whenever you're working for a company. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get this shot, and if you miss it, we're going to ruin you. Kind of
Yes.
feel
Yes.
that's what you feel like.
Miss
at
the
least.
shot, do what you got to do, learn from it, and grow. Because the more they learn now, it's only the better. That's what I was telling one of them the other day. I said, look, the sooner you learn to do these things, the more you're helping me, because one, you're increased because they want to do more photography. One, it's going to help you for when you get to paying clients. Like when you get
Right.
to someone that you're not having to do this because they're in this like free to pay, building portfolio season. And so I'm like, when you learn this, it's not only going to help me, but it's going to help you to get some of those higher paying gigs. I want you to be able to I want to get to the point where when somebody calls and they're like, well, how much would you charge for this? 10 grand. And they're like, okay. Cause
Yeah.
I hope I get to that one day. I've never sold a job that large, but I want to get to the point where I throw that estimate out and and it's one of those things where they don't ask why. They're not like, well, why
Right.
am I having to pay this much? I
Right.
want to make sure my work, my quality, my communication, those things, when I throw that number out, even if it's high, they're like, done. Sign the contract. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
because they know what they're getting.
talking to Colin's definitely one that he's helped me with that. I mean, just the other day I was pricing a job, and it's a relatively small job, and I told him one amount that I was going to say, and then he was like, "Dude, I would be charging this for it," and it was literally like over double.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I can't go there yet. Like I'm just starting, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you can and you should. Then he told me, he was like, tell me about this company. And I told him about the company. And as soon as I told him sort of like the budget kind of jobs that they do, he was like, you need to charge more.
Yeah.
And literally by the end of it, I jumped my price up, not quite double. I probably did like, I think I ended up adding, almost $2,000 to it. And whenever I pulled the trigger and sent it to him, the guy jumped on a call with me and was like, that sounds great. How soon can you start? And I told my wife, I was like, Colin just made me like $1,800. You know what I mean? Like in one conversation, he made that for me. And it was just that encouragement. It was also that understanding of like the value, especially based on this company's kind of money that they're making. So it was great for me. So I think you're at least you have conversations with people like that. He'll get you there real quick. Colin might get you there sooner than you're ready for it. So be careful.
Dude, I'll take it. I've got one now that I'm working, and I've got a good buddy of mine. It's who I use for all of my LUTs and everything. He's a good buddy from Washington. Never met in
Yeah.
person. We've talked a ton. His name's Keith Fisher. He's done a lot of like TV production stuff, but he's got a little company called One Up, and I bought some of his LUTs one time, and that's all I use. And I've got a big project I'm trying to close for Atlanta that I really want to bring him in for. So I was like, dude, I'm gonna pitch this. I said, how much would you charge to come film for 2 days with me if I flew you out here? And he did it, and he sent me his number. I said, all right, well, I'm gonna add this onto the bill, and I'm gonna send it to him. And if they want to do it, great. If not, we're gonna move. Because if they want to do it, they're gonna do it right. And that's kind of what I want to be able to get to, that point where I'm like, look, I'm not just trying to charge you this much just to do it and say, hey, thanks for paying this much money. I want to work with people that are saying, all right, you're making quality content. I know you're producing quality content, and I'm not trying to short game. That's what I've heard too from a lot of entrepreneurs is don't work with people that lower the quality of your work to fit their agenda. Work with people that are raising their quality because they know they need it to fit their goal. And so that's what I've heard a lot is like, don't ever just say, hey, well, I'll do less just so that way we won't produce. I could never be the type of person that says, well, I won't do as big of a job for you. So it's not, no, we're going to do it either the right way or we're just not going to do it.
Right.
And so,
I've got some work coming up soon that I get to bring in Alex Kiker, who I think is
oh man,
incredible.
I know exactly what you're talking about. His
Yeah.
stuff's phenomenal.
Alex is so good. I also get to bring in Billy Ivy, who's like a mastermind storyteller,
Hmm.
writer, like, and the two of them, I sold the project to the client on this. I was like, I can deliver, I believe, great work, but these guys, if we bring in a team, that great work is going to
Yeah.
be like even better. Like it
Yeah.
will, the value we put on this, I promise you, will pay off. The cost
Dude, this is
will
so good.
benefit you. But I think that's been the big thing with me is like I try not to. I don't try. I try to price jobs now to where it at least justifies me bringing one additional person, if not two or even
Yeah.
three additional people. I think Colin's now like 16 people he brings on
Yeah.
set. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I think because you got to understand, like people specialize. Like Alex Kiker is an incredible DP. He can frame up shots.
Hmm.
He's also like a master of everything. Like he can do anything you need him
Yeah.
to. So he's always a great asset to have on set. And
Yeah.
then somebody like Billy Ivy, man, like talking about a brand story, or in this case, it's like a culture story that we're doing.
Yeah.
He's the one that can ask the right questions. And not only that, but then in the edit, he can help design the
Yeah.
narrative.
Well, and that's
And
what
so,
I'm wanting to do with this project I'm working on now. If I can pitch it the way I want to pitch it, it'd be the most I've ever estimated on a job and pitched. Because if I want to bring Keith in for this, because I was like, dude, I've always wanted to work with you. Here's an opportunity.
yeah,
Let's knock this out. And it's so good that you said that, because that's one of the things I told him. I was talking with my contact. It was a friend of ours. That's how she got me. She works for them, and that's how I got to do work for them one time. And I told her, I was like, look, I promise you the quality will be updated if they do this. Like
yeah,
you're going to bring in somebody that can work with me, that we can play together off things. You're going to see it. And like their industry doesn't do a lot of social media and doesn't do a lot of things for their website. Like it's just not found in their industry, especially where they are. And I said, if you're, because I asked him ultimate goal. He said, I want to be the standard. I want to be this. If you want to do this, this is the way to get to it. And
yeah,
so, either we've got experience, we can do it together, and let me bring him in. And yeah, you're gonna, I want you to pay for him to come so I can bring him. Like
right,
that's the thing, is that you have to be willing to pay this to get this. And if you
right.
do that, I can promise you we will deliver. Because not only that, you're now going to have two people editing versus one, which means it's going to get back to you quicker too. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that is the way to scale. I think, and at least that's been my experience. So,
yeah,
well, good luck on that, man. I hope it. I imagine it's going to go
I
well.
hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. All right. So, who inspires you? And it may be. I mean, you just talked about at least one person I know with a One Up company,
Yeah.
but who do you look to for inspiration? Who do you have you had the chance to work with or collaborate with, or just like follow that you feel like really pushes you to be the best version of you as a creative as you can be?
Yeah, man, that's so weighted. Because if you take people that I know that they do this, Keith Fisher, check him out. He is phenomenal. Really good buddy of mine from Washington. And it's funny, we met on a creative church call that Nick Goodner. I don't know if you know much about Nick Goodner in the creative world for churches. He did an online conference, and I got to kind of do a video for it. He and I met through that.
Is this Keith?
Yeah, that's him right there, dude.
Okay.
Bro, he needs more followers than he has, because his work, let alone it just helping the church creative community. There's just not a lot of that. I don't
Yeah.
feel like you find a lot of high quality people in the church community helping other church creatives be better, whether that's videography, photography, production, digital marketing, whatever it is. And that's what I've been trying to figure out. Should that be my niche on social media?
Right. Yeah.
But he does so much work. It's so good. He does part-time things. He actually just left the church he was at to pursue more things and do more on his own. So he's phenomenal. it may sound cliche, but obviously Landon, by the way, I'm probably not on his radar at all, but he's on mine, especially getting to know him, dude. It was, I mean, it sounds like a fangirl, but having him in my phone if I need something, and he's good about responding. I mean, he will. And I obviously won't bother him. He's got a lot going on, but I mean, he was a big part of why I decided to take on this position and do it. And then his editor is Bryson. Um, I love the two of their work. They're the two of them, along with like Jayhawk, Johnny Hofstadter, like they're probably some of my favorite creators. But yeah, Landon and his editor Bryson, man, they're just, I love their content. It's so good. It's catchy. Their style, it really shows. He's a huge entrepreneur, that he capitalizes on everything. Yeah, it's full-time filmmaker. Bryson, probably if you click on some of the stuff, you'll see he's collabed with it, but Bryson does a really good job as well. But those are people that I don't, though. I mean, I know them, but I don't. I mean, outside of
Yeah.
Bryson and them, and then Keith and I have never actually got to meet in person, but we talk a lot, like a whole lot. But they inspire. And Keith is always really good about just sending that inspiration and telling you, like, he'll let you know how good I've done on things. He's always been great about, bro, this is so good. I love this. Landon's editor, Bryson, maybe he sent it on accident. I don't know, but I needed it. He sent me something yesterday, random out of nowhere. And what was funny is he really blew up. They did a funny video where Landon was walking around. He got out of a Cybertruck with the Apple Vision goggles on, and he was acting like, and because he posted it on his personal just as a joke, and he jumped up to like 100,000 followers. But he'll tell you, like, it does nothing for me. Like those, having 100,000 people it's allowed me to do some partnerships I never have, but he'll tell you, like, I would rather have a small community that cares about what I'm posting versus having a large following number. But he sent me a message the other day and just said, dude, you're killing it. He was like yesterday. I don't know why he sent it. Maybe he meant another Adam. I don't know. But he sent it to me on Instagram, and I was like, dude, this has been a long week. Like, this means a lot. Like, you have no idea. Like, your work obviously is some of my favorite. But I mean, yeah. And then obviously just in the city, we've got some really good creators. I mean, your work has been phenomenal, especially when it comes, I do a lot of interviews when I was at ServePro. So I looked at a lot of your work, obviously, before we got to meet, just how to set things. You do great about posting behind the scenes. And so being able to see some of the stuff you do and how you set up and how you set your camera, I kind of got excited when Colin had randomly sent a message on Instagram, because I followed him for so long. Just their work as well. He does really well at behind the scenes stuff. Like he handles that. And so that's a big inspiration, because it allows me to see how it's done. And that's what I love. I love showing how I do something, and I love seeing other people share that. That's what I loved about Landon and them, is I feel like our industry, yes, there's behind the scenes videos and stuff, but I feel like they don't gatekeep. And that's the big thing. Like, you teach me how you do it. It's not going to take money from you. We're not hitting the same clients. We're not doing the same thing, but you're teaching me how to do it. And I feel like stuff you see from like Colin and Landon, by the way, and stuff, like, they're showing what they're doing because they genuinely want you to see what they're doing and how you could either be better or, what goes into their process. So, but
I think the Birmingham creative community has amazed me with their willingness to do that kind of stuff. I mean, that they're always willing to open up set. Yeah. I mean, so many times people have just been like willing to allow other people to come on set. It's been really cool. Well, obviously you've got quite the inspiration there, especially whenever you get into that full-time filmmaking. But also the guy that does the one up, like his color grades. I mean, your stuff always looks incredible. I see sort of some of that influence even at looking at some of his stuff versus your stuff. Yeah. So I don't think you've gone wrong at all with the sort of inspiration that you've pulled from these people.
I mean, you're talking about our city, and I know we're probably getting longer, but like I've never met him. I didn't realize he was from Birmingham. I followed him for a while, but Bennett Loper, like, I pulled him up real quick.
Loper.
Loper. holy moly, his stuff is good, and he's from Birmingham. Like if you look at it's
Looper.
Looper. Did I say Loper? Looper. Dude, his color grade and the things that he does is phenomenal. Um, his stuff is so good. He does a lot of like CrossFit stuff. He does stuff on his own. You can tell he films by himself, which he's obviously mastered, like
Yeah.
filming himself. But he's from Birmingham, and
Huh.
his color grade and his style is probably my favorite. Like he did a video for Cuts, the brand Cuts. That's a huge clothing
Right.
company.
Right. Yeah.
And he did a video for them.
I'm gonna
It's
have to
like
follow him. I didn't know. I see it now. I'm a filmmaker, content creator, Birmingham, Alabama. Um, I'll have to connect with him at some point. That's cool.
dude, he's awesome. Yeah, and then the one you were talking about, like, so it's the Bryson, the one that I really enjoy following.
Yeah.
His is the Grizz underscore. That's what his is.
The
His is the same
Grizz.
way, man. Yeah.
The Grizz with a G with a Z.
Yeah, it's the GRIZZ and then underscore.
GRIZZ.
So, but dude, I mean, I don't think people realize how powerful Birmingham is. Like you said, Alex Kiker. I mean, I'm looking through right now. Harrison's here. Aaron's here. You've got like the Bennett guy. You're here. Cole does things. I mean, Colin and his team, like all his guys, do really good work. You've got the Night ED team, like Alex Perkins,
Right.
who does a lot of their video
Yeah.
stuff. Who is it? You got Griffin Levy, who does a lot of good work for like UAB, Dustin, Blake Raymond. They live right down the street. He's I don't know if you know
Yeah.
Blake.
Yeah. 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 I know
I
Blake.
mean, it can go on and on. Like, it's crazy to me how many creators we have in the city. That's just, I mean, just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's obviously one thing that with this podcast, I thought I would interview maybe like 6 to 10 people, maybe, and then I'd be like, well, that's everybody. I'm done, you know.
Oh,
But
man.
I'm at now like I think this is going to be like 48, episode 48 with
Yeah,
you,
I saw. It was
and
like I saw you were on like 40 something when I was
yeah,
looking through.
and man, I've got more and more people that I just haven't had time to reach out to, or I've got people that I'm like, I've got you on my list. Like I'm gonna be coming and reaching out to you soon. Like it's just constantly
Yeah,
growing every time. I mean, even talking with you now, I've learned of new people in the community in the area, and it's been incredible. It really
I need
has.
you to when you gonna take them and do audio only so I can just like consume, man. Like I
I'm
try to catch up
bad.
when I can, and but man, I love driving and listening or
Yeah.
walking on the treadmill and listening to podcasts. I need you to get there, Brian. So you just drop every one of these episodes, drop the audio in Buzzsprout, load them suckers up, let it blow up.
I need to do that at some point. I started off sharing like putting them in like a podcast
Or
type
even
of
Spotify for
software.
podcasters is
Right.
free. You
Yeah.
could easily do this, dude.
Yeah.
I
And
feel like what you're doing and interviewing these people, especially so much of it is Birmingham, is showing really this. I mean, even I haven't been able to attend. I've wanted to. Every one of I think the 2 times you've had the creator meetup, we had VBS and I couldn't be
yeah.
there. And then the other one, there was something. I think my wife was out of town. I had my watch the girl, so I haven't had the opportunity. But man, I just want to get to know some of the other people in the city. So when I do need somebody that can film something with me, I know I
Right.
can call and they're in the city. I mean, yeah, I want to fly Keith in, but is there somebody here that we could just go and do it that I could meet from and do that stuff? So
I
what
guarantee
you're
you there
doing
are.
is huge.
There's a long list of people, and
So
but I agree, man. I mean, I wouldn't have known Billy. I might have known Billy a little bit, but I wouldn't have known him to the level that I know him if it wasn't for this
yeah,
podcast and this community. I wouldn't have known Alex Kiker. Aaron, I just shot some stuff for him yesterday at an event for his company. Dustin and I've talked a good bit. Like these people, I wouldn't know if it wasn't for
yeah,
other creatives in the community that have pointed me in their direction.
yeah,
And man, it's been amazing to just
yeah,
watch and admire their work, but then even more so whenever you get to talk with them, and everyone is so humble, approachable, and willing to connect and help
yeah.
out in any way they can. So
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
great
dude, when you
community.
get the next creator meetup, I want to try to make it work because I want to, if you need
Yeah,
help doing anything, whatever it is, like
yeah.
I want to be able to be a part of it you know, and I think we were still at ServePro at the time, so the schedules
Yeah.
have finally kind of shifted a little bit. But yeah,
We're
man, I would love to.
we're looking at doing one in April possibly. I was just talking with Colin. We had one sponsor that was going to be surrounding an event, and it was going to be early in April. That sponsor, I think we've decided to move that one into maybe August or September. So Colin, I reconnected with him, and I was like, "Hey, you still willing? I can just find another sponsor." So we're looking at possibly late April now, maybe the last week in April. So on a Thursday. So I'll keep you informed on it whenever we nail it
Dude.
down. And
I'd like to. I feel bad
yeah,
because you talk about the past two, and it was just. I think the first one you had was, I can't remember something. The second one was the last week that I was at our old church before moving to Christian
yeah,
Life Church, and so the last project, I told them, I said, "Hey, I'll do VBS, film it, edit, get you guys something out."
right,
And I think it was during that week, and we did our VBS typically Monday through Thursday, and you were doing it on a Thursday, so it was the
right,
last night, so
yeah.
I just couldn't miss.
I think I even DM'd you, and
You
you
did,
explained that to me. Yeah, yeah,
because you were like, "Wait, you're leaving?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, been a whole lot since we last had lunch.
yeah, yeah. Man, we need to definitely connect again,
Yeah,
and sit down in person and just chat and catch up. And
yeah,
like I
man.
said, man, there's some things that I think I could learn from you on some of the stuff that you've done with leaving your job and then still
Yeah.
maintaining a
Dude, do
contract
it.
with them.
Convince
So
Colin to come so I can meet him because I've always been a fan of his work.
I can definitely try to. Colin has ghosted me as much as anyone.
Just
No,
send him
no.
a message and say, "Hey, I've got somebody that can help you with your podcast setup." So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what he needs. We need to go out to his house and just like
that's what he was
put
talking
him
about.
down. Just tell him how terrible everything looks,
We
because
chatted
he does all
probably,
these videos, man. But then his own setup looks terrible.
we chatted for about, it was what, last Friday, it was last Friday. Yeah, it was last Friday. He sent that. I get, oh, it was when I posted the last reel for Higher Up podcast.
Yeah,
I'd shared it, and he was like, "Dude, I need you to come do this." And I was like, "Hey, I'll trade you. I'll show you what I do if you'll just teach me what you're doing, man, because you're
dude,
killing it." So,
he's an open book. He really is. He'll tell
yeah.
you everything. He really will.
Yeah, y'all. Well, you've done a couple things with him, and he's even just him talking about stuff, and it's great. Again, it's
Yeah.
just, dude. I feel like the Birmingham community could go against anybody, and I feel like Canada, for some reason, is it like Toronto is such a huge place for creators. Some
Yeah.
of the biggest, like you said, Maddie's out
Matty
there,
Hapoya
Peter
and Peter,
McKinnon,
even Jesse Driftwood's up there
Jesse
too. And
Driftwood's out there.
yeah,
I can't say his name. He's a really big African American guy. It's like Abaya Kinyu. Um,
uh,
I'll have to send you his page, but he's
yeah,
out
yeah.
there. He's huge. There's so many like big creators. It feels like that's where or Salt Lake
Well,
City, where like Landon and them are. It's like, I feel like once creators get into a community, they're like, I need to move there because that's apparently where everything's happening.
Canada, they don't have anything to do during winter except stay inside and create videos. You know,
Great
I mean,
videos
that's
all the time.
well. Listen, Adam, thank you so much for
Yeah, man.
sitting down with me today. Seriously, like
Oh
it
my
was.
gosh.
This was a great photo, man.
That photo is from a series we did at Cultivate. It was called Geronimo, and it was about, Pastor Brandon was talking about doing things beyond our faith. I have an unhealthy fear of snakes. Dude, I'm talking, I don't even watch cartoon snakes, okay?
Dude,
We're
your
watching Harry
wife
Potter
needs to
right now.
like dangle one right above your head and just let it come down right now in
Dude,
front.
we're watching Harry Potter, and it drives me crazy because he talks to snakes. I'm like,
Right.
but yeah, dude. We went to I forgot the big pet store out in Homewood.
Yeah, Ed's Pet World.
Ed's Pet World,
Yeah,
and they made me hold a snake.
that's great.
So
That's great. I love the facial expression. I don't think the size that I've got it right now does it justice, but
no, man.
the facial
As
expression
soon as
is
I
really
saw
great.
that, I knew exactly what it was. I'm like, Brian, you're digging.
It was good. It's a good final image to end on, man.
Yeah.
So, but seriously, Adam, thank you so much for
Hey, man.
sitting down, man. It's always fun to connect with you. I mean, we live relatively close together. I hate that we don't connect more, so we need to
Yeah.
change that in the
Yeah.
near future. So,
Definitely.
and you definitely need to make it to the next meetup because I guarantee there's tons of people out there that would benefit from connecting with you, and that you would benefit from
Yeah.
connecting to
No,
them. So,
dude, I need to make sure it happens. Like I said, I hate the past two. I hadn't been able to, but life's changing. We're at a different place, different pace, man. It's
yeah.
good. So definitely, I'd love to.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so
Yeah,
much,
man.
and good luck in all that you're doing. I know that that your work, I mean, is already at such a great level, and I know just with the work that you're putting into it and the growth that you're pushing for, it's just going to keep getting better. So, props.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Well, dude, I appreciate you doing this. Like I said, I think this whole series that you're doing is phenomenal, just to kind of let people know just the creators that are in the city and the things they could do. So dude, I appreciate you. I'm honored you let me be on it. So man, I love it. Thank you so much.
It's truly an honor to have you, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.